black shirt today, I want to wear the blue one. So what kind of technology is out there to help us with our everyday tasks, such as clothing, that, as far as I can remember, clothing labels don't say what color the shirt is. They just tell you if you need a bigger shirt or not, right? So that's what we're going to kind of go into now as far as how are we accessing our environment and print. Yep.
All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about visual optimization. Ooh, that's a fancy word, devices, right? So how do we use our residual vision to see, right? To access our, again, always be thinking about those two things, accessing print and accessing our environment. I'm going to go over some ways to do that with your residual vision or low vision, and then we're going to talk about some different ways with total blindness, okay? So guys aren't, so we've got stuff for both, okay? So on this slide it says visual optimization devices, basic to advanced technology. And the thing to remember is that it doesn't need to be high tech. It can be very basic, right? So think about your bottles in the shower, right? Shampoo, conditioner, right? Putting a rubber band around shampoo and not having a rubber band on the conditioner is going to help you identify those within your shower, right? Without having to read those labels. So we're going to talk about some tech things, some more high-tech things, but I always want you to be thinking about low-tech as well, right? Just because there are people who are a little afraid of technology, right? And for me, you always have to have a plan B, because as we know, technology sometimes doesn't work for you, right? And so another area to think about with technology is mainstream versus blindness-specific technology. Meaning there are things that are available mainstream. And mainstream means I can go to Walmart and buy it, potentially, right? I can get it on Amazon, right? Things that other people are using who have, 20/20 vision, right? To be able to do a task. And there are benefits to having mainstream items because, one, they're easily accessible. I can get them easier, potentially, right? So some examples I have on the table here. And after our presentation, guys are more than willing to come up and we can go over these and you can test some of these devices that I have out in front of me on this table if you're unable to see them or you want to get hands-on with them when we're done. So a mainstream item would be something like a headlamp, right? So we're big fans of these at the training center. So this is a headlamp that you wear on your head and it shines a light down. So sometimes all we need is a little bit of light to help us access print and access the environment. And what's great about this is that it's hands-free, right? I can use my hands to maybe put my finger at the spot I need to sign, and I can use my other hand to sign in that spot, right? I don't have to hold a flashlight in my mouth. None of us have ever done that, right? Or in one hand and then sign with the other one. Right, so I have someone laughing in the front. I know that. It hurts when you hold that flashlight in your mouth. But that's a mainstream item. This is something that you can buy at a sports store. It's about $30, right? The biggest thing to remember is that you want something that has a lot of light, right? You don't need something that's going to help you go cave diving, right? We don't need something that extreme most of the time, but be thinking about what it is you want to access and how to access that. It doesn't have to be something that's really expensive or really elaborate, okay? Another example I have here is an OttLite. Many of you, if you're crafters or that, may have seen something like this at a Joann Fabrics or a Hobby Lobby. These OttLites are used in the craft world because of the light bulb, it gives good detail to what you're doing. We call this task lighting, okay? So lighting's huge when it comes to low vision. Right? We come in a situation like this, we have overhead lighting, it's shining down. If I'm going to look down and take notes, my head then covers that light, right? There's a lot of things that sometimes just the lighting, changing the lighting can help you access your environment or optimize your vision. It's, a fancy term for that. And it doesn't have to be something specifically blindness related, okay? So we've got lighting, we've got near tasks. So we talked about print, right? Print access is huge, right? You get bills in the mail, you get flyers, you need to look at signage, you need to look at menus at a restaurant. There's a lot of things when you think about print. How do I access print? And you've got some of your lower tech items, which I have a handheld magnifier here. Some of you've probably seen one of these, right? They come in all sorts of different powers, styles, shapes, whatever. Sometimes this may be all you need. Something that's a little bit higher power, has a little light with it. They come in many brands, styles, and that. And what's nice is if you come to the training center or get signed up for some services through our Bureau of Services for Blind Persons, you'll have a teacher and a counselor, and they'll work with you for your individual needs. Right? Not everything's going to work for everybody. Maybe that headlamp is like all you need. Great, awesome. I can do the things I want to do again. I'm good to go. Maybe it's not enough. Maybe you need something that magnifies. Right? So there are lots of different ways to magnify print. And the thing to remember is sometimes bigger is not better, but sometimes bigger is better, right? And so there are lots of different ways to make print bigger. We've got some handheld devices here, which is not going to turn on for me. Oh, there we go. We got some handheld devices where we can put print underneath it, and it will expand it. This is something portable that I can take with me to maybe a restaurant or take it to the bank or something, wherever I need to go somewhere to access print. These are nice if you need to access print outside in your environment, right? Because remember, it's about accessing print, accessing your environment. I have a friend of mine who's blind, and they love to take that with them to Meijer, because there's things up on higher shelves, there's things lower, and they just can't quite tell what the price is. Right? So they'll hold that up, they'll take a picture of it and bring it to their face, and now they can tell what that price is in that. And that's not the only device that does that. But the thing I want you to be thinking about as I go through these are, what are your needs? Right? Go through your day and don't think of 20 things. Think of your top 3. What are the top 3 things that frustrate me the most visually? Right? And what's that? And you can look at what those different, you can work with people to try to figure out how to solve those problems. All right, I have a couple other devices here. These are a little less portable, but I've got one here that's called a video magnifier. So many of you may have seen this, and again, if you can't access this right now, you can come up after the presentation and look at this. So I'm going to put my consumer's bill up here, and now that all of you know how much it is, you're all willing to pay it if you like, right? And so you notice this is a device that takes print, makes it bigger. Right? This is a little portable, but still it's not something you're going to lug to Meijer with you or the bank. But this is making it bigger. Print, so I can put some print underneath it and that. They do make devices that also talk, right? So you can have that computer talk and read to you what's on that screen as well. But right now, we're just talking about low vision, all right? So sometimes just having something that makes it a little bigger is helpful. And what's great is sometimes we find that if we can solve those top 3 problems, accessing print, accessing your environment, right? I have a really hard time with my bills. And you find yourself a device like this, you've solved 90% of your problems, right? And you can relieve that frustration and get back to those 4 things we talked about, sleep and live and work and playing, right? Again, and feel like you can be doing those the best you can. This is a blindness-specific technology, right? This isn't something you can go to Walmart and buy, right? This is something where you would need to purchase this through a low vision or blindness vendor. Upstairs, there's a vendor for AbleZone. And AbleZone, I encourage you all to go to that table with Kathy. She's great. She has a store that has a lot of different devices for their blindness and low vision that you can go, make an appointment, and spend time with lots of different devices. And just see what works for you, right? Because it's not a one-stop shop, right? Something may work for somebody else, but it might be, this is too bright. I can't use this. This is too bright. That might be what's happening for you. All right? So there are devices, there's apps, there's basic to advanced. If you want to be hands-on after, I've got a couple different things here that we can look at. One other thing I'm going to talk about is another mainstream item, which hopefully you guys will come up and look at is I've got a TV here, and I've got my iPad, all right, and I've got this nice little cord here that's about $30. It's called an Apple HDMI TV adapter. And all that does is it does what's called screen mirroring, which means whatever's on my iPad or iPhone, okay, now we're talking about iDevices now. The Android, it gets a little shaky, all right, because the Android's got different stuff going on, but sometimes there are certain Android devices it works on and not. But we're talking about iPhones. You know, at the training center, we're iPhone fanboys. We love our iPhones at the training center for many reasons, but we love our iPhones. So what this is doing is just from this cord, it's doing what's called screen mirroring. So whatever's on my iPad, it's going on that TV screen. And this has been revolutionary for many, many people because many people have a very big TV in their home already, right? You got this big old TV on your, up on your wall, and it costs you X amount of dollars because they're not cheap, right? And you're staring at your phone with it on your nose, right? Trying to look at pictures or trying to read your texts or trying to read your messages, right? Well, how about put it up on that big TV, right? And so just by this cord and having another HDMI cord, which aren't very expensive, this may sound a little techie, but I assure you, I have my mom, who's the least techie person on the planet. I just set this up for her, and she uses this all the time to show pictures. So I actually came across this device years ago because my mom's a big picture person, and we're all looking at her phone, all crowded around, pre-COVID, right? We're all crowded around her, trying to look at this phone, and I look up and I see there's this big TV on your wall. Why aren't we using that to look at your photos together? And this is a mainstream device. This is, get it at Walmart, get it at Meijer. And so what it's doing is it's everything that I do on my screen, it's just mirroring it onto this TV. And this is a small TV right now, just for demonstration, but we could put it on a bigger TV. So if I had let's say I had a picture and I wanted to see, like, maybe this is my friend. Let's say I wanted to see my friend's face. I can pinch it bigger and I no longer have to look at my tiny little screen. So this is a mainstream device. And so there are lots of options in terms of mainstream things. Okay, it doesn't have to be blindness specific, but this is definitely something that has helped a lot with low vision. Let me get that back to hello. All right. Did you have a question? Yes. Okay. So she just asked, what's the device that I talked about? And it's called an Apple HDMI TV adapter. Apple HDMI TV adapter. And after the presentation, you come up and take a picture of it. Yep. Yeah, TV adapter. The extra piece you need is just an HDMI cord, which many TVs come with. But, yeah.
Are non-Apple devices going to move to something?
I knew someone would ask that question. We're Apple fanboys at the training center. We don't talk about that, those Androids. No. Yes, no, that's fine. Yes, it depends on the device. And it's called screen mirroring. And so it depends on, let's say you have a Samsung phone, a Samsung TV. They talk nicely to each other, right? Then sometimes there's options within those smart TVs to screen mirror, okay? So what I tell everybody is go to wherever you got your phone and ask your provider, okay? Because sometimes Androids, like I said, they're just a little more finicky. And we've had some work very well and some not work so well with that. But with Apple, this cord is hardwired. And so hardwiring sometimes works a little bit nicer than Bluetoothing and all those fancy terms, right? And wirelessly. But yeah, so go to your phone provider, who you bought that phone from, and say, hey, I want a screen mirror to my smart TV. How do I do that? Right? And they will be able to answer that specifically. Okay. All right, so there's always other options. All right, just because you don't have any vision, your vision's so low that potentially none of this is functional to you, there are definitely other options, and we're going to talk about some other apps. All right, they can help you with this, again, accessing print and accessing your environment.
All right, and this is Scott again. And so we've touched on some of the handheld devices and some other options with the Apple adapter to your TV. And with smartphones, now we get to apps. And anybody that has a smartphone, you probably already have some apps on your phone. And what can be of use to you? What can be of use to you and how can that phone be utilized as a technological tool to access print, access your environment? On the screen now we have, like anything, there are free options, there are not free options. And so this first one, I'm going to say it's both. It's free and it's not free. And this app is called Aira, and that's A-I-R-A. And this service has paid employees. They are trained, and they're trained well on how to describe various different things or read materials or provide information to the user. So through the app, you would call, you would make a call through the app. One of their employees will free. If you go beyond that, let's say you have a longer task or something more complex you're looking to do, they do have, the company does have different tiers of pricing based on how many minutes a month are you looking to purchase. So you can use it on the free side for up to 5 minutes each day. You can also, if you are able and you would like to, you also can purchase. At my home, I have a bigger refrigerator than I possibly could need, but I have it, and there's many things in there. And rather than move 30 different items around to figure out, oh, where did I leave the soy sauce or whatever it is I'm looking for, I can use Aira, and they will. I'll just point my camera into my refrigerator. They'll tell me, oh, it's in the back left. As I start reaching, yep, a little bit more, yep, that's it. That's the soy sauce. Perfect. Thank you, and I hang up. Right? I also might use this for things that feel the same but are different. So I'll use the example of cans of soup. Most cans of soup feel the same. However, I may be looking for clam chowder. I don't want pea soup, right? And so I might use something like Aira for that. As well as in my environment, I may use Aira, and I use it at work sometimes. We have many things in different cupboards, and rather than me feel around 17 different cupboards, I'll utilize Aira to assist me in that task. I know others that I have talked with may use Aira even to identify locations. So, hey, I'm traveling, I'm looking for this small store, I know it's on this block, right? I might use Aira, and they can assist me in finding whatever the store is that I'm looking for. So we have a short clip to from Aira to demonstrate how this app works, and I think Amber will play it.
A blind woman in a wheelchair puts on a pair of Aira smart glasses for the first time. She connects to an Aira agent and begins hearing her environment being described to her, prompting her to move her hand to her mouth and look down with emotion. Aira is an app for people who are blind or have low vision. At the touch of a button, users are connected to highly trained agents who deliver visual information on demand, making the visual world accessible to all. For many people, it's a real game changer. Try Aira for free on your smartphone. Download the free app at aira.io/app and activate the 7-day trial.
Oh, this is Amber again. That was super epic, right? Yeah, the super epic music with it. But again, at the very beginning, it's just a woman who has a phone and she's just scanning her environment with that phone. You know, she's unable to see what's around her, and so the Aira agent is telling her, right? And so this is a really cool app. We utilize this quite a bit at the training center for various tasks, because instead of asking that spouse of yours or asking that go-to person for everything constantly, what's this? Read this, right? That kind of thing. It gives you another way to have a little bit more independence and have somebody who's a highly trained agent, and that's what they call them, agents that you're calling, and they will be able to help you with what that task is. Okay, and what's nice is there are services where you can call a volunteer. It's just a random person who, wants to help somebody, is just running an app to answer a question. There's one called Be My Eyes, and we utilize that app too at the training center. But those people are not trained agents. So, if you're asking somebody to help you locate, let's say, a business, or that Aira agents have access to computers, they get paid to do this. And so they are trained to assist you. They know your location through GPS on your phone, and so they can assist you with many things. And so it is a nice service. So you notice at the end it said there's a 7-day free trial. So if once you download this app, it is simple to use. You'd go to that app and there's a big button on there and you press it, and that's how you call. You don't necessarily have to dial a number in. You just press that button on that app and it will connect you with an agent, and that 7-day trial is something that you can sign up for. So I encourage people to use that, right? They are funded through lots of different sources. There are lots of different agencies in that are funding that Aira service, and so the more you use it, the more available it will be for others. But you do get that 5 minutes free, regardless, once your 7-day trial is over. But many people who are professionals who are blind pay for this service. Right? Many people who use that 5 minutes find that maybe that's not enough time for them, that they will stack up all their mail for the week and sit with an Aira agent and go through that. I've had many students in the past that, get all their medical stuff together and just, okay, here we go, Aira, let's go, and spend a half hour, 40 minutes just going through, what does all this paperwork say? And so they are trained agents and that, so the security with that is a lot better than sometimes with a volunteer, right? You don't want to call a volunteer and say, hey, can you read me all my medical information? They are backed through the app and that. So that's one example of something that's useful for those of you who have low vision or blindness, right? And so the next app we're going to talk about is one called Seeing AI. And their little slogan is called Free App that narrates the world around you, describes nearby people, text, and objects. So I'm going to play the video first this time, okay? Let me get it to play. See if it'll play. Maybe. Let's try it again. I knew it.
This is technology.
Tech, I knew it. Tech guy to the rescue. Maybe. This has epic music too, so I might have to da 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 while I talk about it. And this is why, as we say, we always have another option, right? He's got it.
Seeing AI is a Microsoft research project for people with visual impairments. The app narrates the world around you by turning the visual world into an audible experience. Point your phone's camera, select a channel, and hear a description. The app recognizes saved friends.
Jenny near top right, 3 feet away.
Describes the people around you, including their emotions.
28-year-old female wearing glasses looking happy.
It reads text out loud as it comes into view, like on an envelope
Ken Lawrence, P.O. Box,
or a room entrance.
Conference 2005.
Or scan and read documents like books and letters. The app will guide you and recognize the text with its formatting.
Top and left edge is not visible. Hold steady. Lease agreement. This agreement
When paying with cash, the app identifies currency bills.
$20.
When looking for something in your pantry or at the store, use the barcode scanner with audio cues to help you find what you want.
Campbell's tomato soup.
When available, hear additional product details.
Heated microwave bowl on height.
And even hear descriptions of images in other apps like Twitter by importing them into Seeing AI.
A close-up of Bill Gates.
Finally, explore our experimental features like scene descriptions to get a glimpse of the future.
I think it's a young girl throwing a frisbee in the park.
Experience the world around you with the Seeing AI app from Microsoft.
Fancy. I feel like I'm Vanna. Again, they're seeing AI, right? And so this is another app used through a phone. You know, iPhone, Android, same thing. So this one is free, and it does a couple of the different things that it talked about. One of the biggest things is accessing print. Right? By taking that app, it's using the camera on your phone, and it's going to read whatever that camera is placed to. Now, again, it's tech, so it takes some finagling. I like that word, finagling, to get it to work with. You're going to have to learn how to hold that phone. And again, it's just that idea that your phone has lots of different resources for you, right? And your phone is mainstream. It's something that, you know, if you have phone problems, how many people have taken their phone and say, hey, fix this for me, and handed it to somebody? We make the joke at the training center that all of us are iPhone teachers. Every class is iPhone class, right? That we spend a lot of time with people on their phones because they're so useful. They're so useful. They have a lot of different tools, especially with that camera on that phone. You're able to access a lot of different things. And that Seeing AI app, again, is free. So I encourage you to download that app. One of the biggest things is it does the short text. And you know, with any app, you can make it very complicated, right? There's a lot of different settings and different things, but what's great about Seeing AI is it has that simple short text feature that as soon as you turn it on with that camera on, you know, just by seeing print, let's see if I can get it to work on my phone real quick. So it's just reading that piece of paper. It says accessing print and accessing the environment. That's just a copy of the PowerPoint slide I had before. And all I had to do was take my phone and just hold it above that print, and it read it to me. Yeah, and it keeps reading it to me, right? Like everything, it takes practice. You can't be an expert at it right off the bat, but one thing to remember with all these apps is that YouTube is your best friend. That if you're trying to do it, somebody else has tried to do it at some point. And sometimes we forget that YouTube is a great resource for persons with low vision and blindness. I mean, even just typing the word blind person, right, you're going to end up with people who are struggling and doing and trying to figure out things. As someone with blindness and low vision, type in Ira, blind person, Ira, use, Seeing AI. You know, and you're going to come with lots of videos of people who have used these, describing what they've done and how they've used those apps. Okay? So don't just think that you need to always have a teacher. We got a YouTube teacher too. All right, that can help you as well. Okay?
So with a lot of this, whether it be apps, whether it be something handheld, there are very cheap or free options. There are very expensive and intricate options. Some things have a little bit of functionality. Some items have a ton of functionality. So it will be a little bit as far as what are your needs, and some of you are thinking, well, all of this is great, but how the heck am I going to learn it? And that's fair, because technology is ever changing. I can, again, I'll speak for myself. I think I can also speak for Amber, that technology, we have to constantly be learning something new. because something new is always coming out. Or the things that we have used, oh, guess what? There's an update and they changed it. Because that happens to everybody also, which we all love those fun updates. There are apps for almost anything you can think of, from color identifiers and barcode scanners to money identifiers, as well as these that we showed. And one area we didn't touch on with technology, because we could have spent the whole 4-hour block of presentations, was computers. And with computers, again, there is software that is built in to a computer. So whether you have an Apple computer or whether you have a PC and it's Microsoft driven, there are magnification features built into both of those, as well as there are screen readers built into both of those. And for all that don't know, screen readers are going to be anything, any software essentially that runs over top of all other apps on your computer, and everything is verbalized to you. So for instance, I do not use a mouse on a computer. I do everything with keystrokes because I can't see the mouse pointer, and it wouldn't do me any good. So I don't use a mouse, and everything is verbalized to me. Everything from a Microsoft Word document to email to the internet and so on and so forth. At our training center, we touched on Apple quite a bit. We do teach Androids, and Amber touched on this, but every 13, the functionality of that phone is the same. That is not true across all different Androids. And so we have to teach that a little bit differently. And for the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons, if you are telling yourself right now, wow, I could really use some kind of training. YouTube is great. And I also am an advocate of YouTube. I Google things all of the time. That being said, there's also some skill sets that may be a challenge to figure out through a YouTube video or through some other written document online. And so, again, if anybody is interested in learning more, potentially maybe opening a case at the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons, we have that information up at our booth. And with that, we have our contact information for both the East Regional Office out of Detroit, the Central Regional Office out of Lansing, which would cover the Ann Arbor area, as well as our training center. If anybody is here that is out of the west side of the state, we can also get you that information. We focused on the offices that are closest to here, as we figured most of you will be from one of those two regions. So with that, technology is exciting. It can make your life independent. It can make you gain confidence that I don't have to ask, and then you can fill in the blank, whoever that person is. I don't have to get so frustrated that I'm just not going to do it anymore. Maybe it is worship, and maybe you can't access your worship any longer. There are different technologies that can assist you with that. Maybe it's just a hobby, but there is technology out there that absolutely can be of assistance. And with that, I will open up if anybody has any questions.
I have a microphone, so I'm going to come around if you have questions. So just raise your hand.
Are these apps only in English, or are they multilingual?
So are the apps only in English, or are they multilingual?
Depending on, it will depend on the app. and I would say it will depend on the language. So I know there are features in some of the apps, but I will be very honest, and I don't have every one of those languages memorized for each app. But if there's something specific, when we're done here, feel free to come up and ask me, and I can find that answer for you if I just don't know off the top of my head.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. I use VoiceOver on my iPhone almost all the time. The problem I have is when I access my phone list, it won't allow me to scroll through it. It'll go, I can run my finger down to the bottom of the page, then it won't scroll to the next page. I have to turn the VoiceOver off in order to scroll to the next page.
Great question. So you're talking your phone contacts?
Yes.
Yep. So what? And do you mind me asking what iPhone you have?
I don't know what.
He's going to say an expensive one.
So.
Another thing too is when the VoiceOver is on, it has a screen shade where the screen goes black.
So two things with that. When you have VoiceOver on, you can turn what is called the screen curtain on. And the screen curtain is a privacy feature that Apple built in. So you can use, now, you can change how this is set up, but it's typically set up where three fingers, triple tap will turn the screen curtain on and everything will go black. And then that way you could still be doing things on your phone and listening to it without another person looking over your shoulder and seeing what's on the screen. The other part of that with the contacts, if you are in your contacts and you touch on the way right side of the screen, there'll be what's called a picker, and you can swipe up or down to go through the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and it will move you to that part of your contact list. Same gesture. So to turn it on and to turn it off. Now, I would have to look in the settings of that specific phone to see if it is not that gesture, it may have gotten set up as a different gesture.
So there's one other thing.
So there's one other thing I want to bring up about why we're Apple fanboys at the training center. And so one reason is this thing called Apple Accessibility Help. Has anyone heard of that before? Apple Accessibility Help. So what's super nice about Apple is they have real human beings that answer questions. It's amazing. I know, it's crazy, right? But there's a phone number which I will read off to you, but also if you want it, you can come up and I can give it to you specifically. But Apple Accessibility Help is specifically for people with disabilities that utilize those type of services or features within an iPhone. So it's a number you can call and a person will answer, right? And you say, hey, I'm legally blind, I'm a VoiceOver user, I'm having trouble with my phone, right? And they can do all sorts of funky tech things where they can get on your phone for you, fix it, they can walk you through how to solve problems. Because many times it's not you, it's that it's tech, right? An update happened, something weird happened with your phone, now the apps are all in different spots or who knows, right? And they can walk you through. Many of those people are people with vision impairments that you're talking to, which is awesome, right? So they're a big proponent of hiring persons with disabilities to assist people. So that's one of the big, thumbs up pluses for Apple in terms of that. So that phone number is 877-204-3930. All right. Again, that's 877-204-3930. And I'll have that up here too if you missed that. Okay? It's free to call. Yeah, it is. Yep. And we've had persons who were blind who'd come to the training center and who've received our services who actually work for Apple and do that service. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, I'm new at this. You mentioned that you had used a phrase at the beginning of your presentation, legal blindness. Can you define that?
Sure, that's a great question. So, legal blindness, when you have a low vision evaluation, eye evaluation completed, legal blindness is anyone that has 20/200 vision in best eye with best correction. So what does that mean? Well, that means in best eye, so if my vision is different in each eye, we're going to be focused on the one that is better. And with best correction, if you have prescription glasses, so through an eye chart, if you are 20/200, let's say, 20/200 using an eye chart at an evaluation, and you put on prescription glasses and you now are 20/100 or 20/60, then you would not meet the threshold of legal blindness. The other side of that definition is less than 20 degrees of vision. So some eye conditions, you might have what's called pinhole vision, and your vision, you're losing your vision from the peripheral in, and so you have less than 20 degrees of vision, and that would be the other part that would identify somebody as legally blind. Good question. If you have any other questions, you also can feel free to come up.
It looks like we've got one more.
Okay.
We'll take this last question and then we'll let you go. All right.
Are there only the 2 regional centers? I'm looking at something closer to Port Huron.
Great question. We do have a Flint office, and that would be I'm going to call it we have satellite offices off of those main hubs. I'll call them Lansing and Detroit being the main hubs, but we do have an office in Flint that would, in my geographic knowledge, is the closest probably to Port Huron.
All right, well, let's give a nice round of applause to Scott and Amber. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was so useful. And if anybody has any questions for them, they will be upstairs in the vendor fair. They've got a booth here, so they will be here for the rest of the day. Please feel free to stop by and say hello.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, unfortunately Chris is not able to make it today.
I just realized that was on our program. Which
Yes.
is totally fine.
Yep.
Absolutely fine. Just wanted to make sure we weren't like.
Yep. No.
Lost
Yeah.
in the building somewhere.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. No.
All right, I think we're going to get started with our second presentation of the day. I want to thank all of you again for coming to Visions 2022. We're so excited to have you. And feel free to check out the vendor fair that's going on throughout the day upstairs, and we've got food vendors outside as well. If you have any questions throughout the day, feel free to ask me or anybody that you see wearing a shirt like this, or really anybody that has a lanyard on or that asks if you need any assistance. There's plenty of us around if you need anything. But we're going to go ahead and get started with our next presentation. I do ask that if you've got a cell phone on you, if you would turn your ringer down, that would be great. But with that, I'm going to pass it on to Eric Rubizniaks, and he is going to tell us about University of Michigan Adaptive Sports. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, everyone. Can you hear me okay? All right, nice to be here. Thank you for having me at the conference. My name is Eric Rubizniaks. I am a young white male with short brown hair. I'm wearing a blue polo with a block M representing University of Michigan with Adaptive Sports and Fitness written underneath. I'm wearing gray pants with brown shoes and a brown belt. I'm happy to be here today to talk about University of Michigan Adaptive Sports and Fitness, what we do, what we're all about, what we're trying to work towards, and really what we're doing at the University of Michigan to change the landscape of accessibility and the narrative really around disability and how that's viewed on campus and within the larger community. Just so I get a sense of the room here, how familiar is everybody with the concept of and with adaptive sports? Yeah, seems like it. Has anybody played adaptive sports before? Okay, yeah, a few. So really the impetus of the program was recognizing the fact that students with disabilities at the University of Michigan were not being afforded the same opportunities of the student life experience. University and the entire experience around going to college is a lot more than just going to your classes, the books, etc. It's really about the holistic experience that students experience from start to finish, and really kind of the cultural, the social, the interpersonal development that comes along with that. And we know that sport is such a primary driver for a lot of the transformative things that happens in a person's life. The experiences of winning, of losing, of being a part of a team, of work ethic and time management, and all those different transferable skills that make one successful in work, life, citizenship, and beyond. But we know that sport is not accessible to everybody. Sport is not equitably favorable to everyone's participation, much with many other systemic issues that exist within the University of Michigan, but broader society, particularly when it comes to disability. And despite the ADA being around for just over 30 years now, there's so many significant areas that are lacking in terms of the development. And one of that is really the cognitive dissonance that people still have around the concept of adaptive sports. How can one be disabled? How can one have a disability yet still be physically active, can still congregate with other people and compete in something for the sake of competition, for the pure enjoyment, for the physical, social, emotional. To create this program at the University of Michigan, recognizing the role that sport can play in all of these aspects, but also then using it as a vehicle to then transform the way that people think, the way that policy is written, the way disability is viewed at the University of Michigan. Now, as the program started to develop, it really started off with a focus of adaptive sports, and that was the name and how the program originated. And we recognized that that was narrow scope, that was narrowly focused, and that the greater need exists for physical activity broadly, not just for competitive sports, is that just as people that are able-bodied, people with disabilities require that outlet, require that opportunity to be able to be physically active, whether it's going to the gym to develop physical literacy skills or to support activities of daily living, or whether it's for the pure aesthetic reasons as well, as just as the able-bodied population does. So thus the program began to expand in its scope and its direction to then include the adaptive sports and fitness aspect of it, and I'll talk about some different areas of the program that really touch upon the fitness aspect and how it all kind of coalesces really nicely together. We then faced another issue in terms of how do we expand the actual social impact of what we're doing beyond the confines of the University of Michigan, recognizing that the university existing within the Ann Arbor, within the Southeast Michigan community, we feel has a greater social responsibility for advancing the work that happens within the institution, recognizing that without the community, the university is missing out on a key resource, on a key mechanism to really enable its position and its opportunity to give back. So we wanted to make sure that the program then expanded its reach and opened up its doors to people outside of the University of Michigan, within Ann Arbor, within Southeast Michigan, within Washtenaw County, to then make sure that, again, it wasn't on the basis of the fact that you're not at the University of Michigan, that you're not getting access to the physical opportunity needs that you might be able to benefit from. So with that, adaptive sports and fitness over the last couple of years, and really this is a relatively new program, started in mid-2019, late 2019. We've grown quite rapidly over the last couple of years, but it's really been an iterative process in terms of identifying what is the community need, what is the community telling us, and how can then we adapt to then meet the needs of the populations that we're trying to serve. And with that has also been a struggle to then advocate for resources, whether that's financial support from the institution, whether that's staffing, access to facilities, access to equipment. So every step of the way, we've been continuing to really rally support from various departments around the institution as kind of a novel way to think about the growth of an adaptive sports program on a college campus, which I'll touch on as well. So really the purpose then of the adaptive sports and fitness program is to increase knowledge, increase awareness, knowledge, access, and participation as it relates to adaptive sports and fitness for people with and without disabilities. So I'll dissect that a little bit more. And that before you can have knowledge about something, you need awareness, and far too many people do not know that adaptive sports exists, do not know why it exists, do not know who can participate. And really the way in which we view adaptive sports and fitness and the way that we define it, manipulation of a rule or a piece of equipment that allows and affords equitable participation. And when you look at adaptive sports and fitness in that way, really anything can be adaptive. Anything can be adapted to be inclusive, whether that's sport, physical activity, whether that's learning in the classroom, whether it's the physical spaces that we're in and we all try to access and enjoy, whether it's the library, what have you, right? So with that, one of our main goals is groups within the University of Michigan, within the community, to then educate, inform, and kind of collaborate and partner to inform people about how they can support accessibility, how they can alter a rule, how they can modify equipable disabilities, but intellectual disabilities, and the broader groups. Now, the important part that I also want to tease out is people with and without disabilities. Now, there are kind of competing mindsets and schools of thought around, is adaptive sports specifically for people with physical disabilities? Is this something that is created explicitly for them because able-bodied people have access to everything else that is around them? And where we kind of fall on this spectrum and school of thought is that why not invite people in? Why not have them participate in adaptive sports as well, because again, if we go back to the premise of what adaptive sports is, it's the alteration of a rule or piece of equipment that allows equitable participation. So if you look at something like wheelchair basketball or wheelchair tennis, when it comes to pure recreation and participation of sport, if you can sit, why can't you play? If everybody has the opportunity to then access a sport chair, a wheelchair, to be able to play something like wheelchair basketball, why not encourage able-bodied participation in adaptive sports? Because that, I believe, creates more opportunity for people with disabilities in that, let's say, for example, you wanted to start a team, but you didn't have other people with disabilities in your immediate area to do so. You now have the ability to do so because you can call upon your friends and your peers and your family. It is a way to facilitate those social relationships and opportunities to expand reach and expand the growth of sport in an equitable, inclusive way. When we also look at non-wheelchair sports and we look at the sports for people with visual impairments like goalball, a very kind of level playing field is by having everybody put on masks to then play the sport of goalball. And this is done already in Paralympic sport, because in goalball you have people of varying levels of vision competing on the court at the same time. So why not extrapolate that and include the able-bodied population as well? And where we do this specifically is when we go do our youth programming in Ann Arbor Public Schools, which I'll talk about more as well in the presentation. Now, overall, what we're trying to do is lead the state of Michigan, lead the nation in adaptive sport and fitness opportunities, and with diversity, equity, and inclusion at the forefront of what we do. Again, recognizing that sport is a vehicle for change, but is a vehicle that is not accessible to everybody. So as I've mentioned, and as I'm going to continue to talk about, is that what we're trying to do as a program is not just deliver competitive or recreational sport opportunities, but understand how we can work with other departments to recognize their role, their responsibility in creating more inclusive practices and policies, and also keeping them accountable towards that. A great example of this is recognizing that people with disabilities are kind of painting with a broad brush here, are exposed to varying levels of health disparities and health outcomes by nature of the fact of having a disability, and knowing that there is a greater need for access to healthcare resources to support their overall wellness. So we had this level of conversation with University Health Services at the University of Michigan to get them to understand and respect the fact that our adaptive student athletes and the people participating in our program have just the same need as the able-bodied athletes at the University of Michigan, and thus require access to things like physical therapy and athletic training, sports psychology, and mental wellness support. And we've been able to now partner with them to change their policies, practices, and even their job descriptions so that it becomes more inclusive of adaptive athletes and participants at the University of Michigan, which is a huge step forward in terms of advancing the scope of the work beyond the immediate people that are advocating for it, but now bringing in other partners and getting them to understand how they play a role in being more inclusive in the practices that they do. Overall, what we're trying to do as well is in terms of increasing knowledge and awareness and access, is working beyond the University of Michigan as well with community partners. And a great example of that is our relationship and growing relationship with the Ann Arbor Center for Independent Living. And we have a number of different examples of that. But by partnering and leveraging the knowledge base and leveraging the resources and personnel at the Ann Arbor Center for Independent Living, we've been able to implement some creative programming to then educate and achieve our mission and our objective of increasing awareness and knowledge, not just about adaptive sports, but about disability as a whole within the Ann Arbor community. So I've talked a lot about our values being diversity, equity, and inclusion driven. We also believe that sport is a human right, is that everybody deserves that opportunity to be on a team, to participate, to compete, to win, to lose, all of those different outcomes. And we can play that role, and we can get the University of Michigan to play that role to create those opportunities for people to participate. In terms of education, you're a student before you're an athlete, but on the flip side of that, the other piece of the education component is, again, like I mentioned, is the knowledge and awareness aspect around adaptive sports and fitness. And the last piece that I really want to touch on here is the community aspect, is that nothing about us without us is a very core piece in terms of a lot of the programming that we try to come up with, is make sure that the user is kept in mind and that the user is valued in that process in terms of what they would like to see, what they would benefit from, and what their experiences are when they engage with us in our programming. So now I'll talk about the program a little bit more specifically in terms of the core branches of what we do. To describe the image that's displayed here on the screen, we have a kind of pinwheel graphic with the Adaptive Sports and Fitness logo at the center of the screen. Starting on the top left and rotating clockwise is the direction that I'm going to go, each showing text or small images representing what the text is as I progress through it. So starting at the top left of the pinwheel, we have the Adaptive Sports and Fitness student group. This really taps into the knowledge awareness aspect of what we try to do. Is the student group is led by undergraduate and graduate students and medical students at the University of Michigan, aimed at engaging the student body and working with other student groups to then support the message and deliver the message of adaptive sports and fitness, and working with other student groups and campus partners to then be a voice, be an advocate for how their activities, how events can be made more accessible and include disability as an intersectional piece of what they do. Next is Prescription to Play. Prescription to Play is a larger grant that we are now starting up, and it is really aimed towards, it's funded by the Craig H. Nielsen Foundation, so at surface value, in terms of when you're looking at the semantics of the grant application, it's supposed to directly address people with spinal cord injury, but really this is a program that we're creating to benefit all people with disabilities in Southeast Michigan, is recognizing that healthcare practitioners, the healthcare system, whether that's PTs, OTs, rec therapists, counselors, psychologists, surgeons, you name it, everyone A to Z in the healthcare industry can play a role in determining and shaping and supporting one's self-efficacy, whether that's their participation in physical activity, whether that's community integration, whether that's activities of daily living. So what we're trying to key in on here is going around and working with healthcare practitioners in the healthcare industry within Southeast Michigan to inform and get them to understand and get them to practice how they can be more inclusive in the way that they communicate, the way that they relate to their patients, to then encourage and promote physical activity as a core component of health and wellness and as a core component towards facilitating community integration. Part of this as well is then going to be community-facing events and activities, whether it's adaptive sports programming, whether it's clinics, whether it's different expos, or kind of visiting around to different sites where people go for their regular programming. And a lot of this is going to be facilitated by a new hire that we just made that will be starting with us on Monday. The position title being a community access navigator. So this position, this person is going to be the boots on the ground then to go around to these different sites in the Ann Arbor area to make those direct connections within the healthcare industry with different social, vocational, physical activity resources to make sure that people with disabilities know what's out there, know how they can get involved, but equally that the healthcare practitioners know what's out there and know how their patients and how their clients can get involved. The next branch of this is the Adaptive Sports and Inclusive Recreation Initiative. Now, this is in direct partnership with the Ann Arbor Center for Independent Living, and as we've had quite a success with this in our first year of piloting the program, and it's set to expand next year in terms of its reach and output. Now, far too often in the K-12 educational system, people with disabilities are relegated to sitting on the sidelines during PE class. Whether that's because their teacher does not intentionally include them in the activities or sports that are going on, the teachers don't know how to include them, or the curriculum or lesson plans are delivered in such a way that is not inclusive of people with disabilities. Now, when we look at the physical education curriculum, not just in the state of Michigan, but in each and every state, they're all about learning, they're all about developing basic physical literacy skills, about getting from point A to point B, about scoring a goal or achieving an objective with a team, you know, not going verbatim, but along those lines. Now, nowhere in there does it say that it has to be done on your two legs or without the assistance of a mobility device, et cetera, the list goes on. So what we really tried to achieve with this initiative is to get the teachers, to get the school board to understand how the same physical education standards, the same learning standards can be achieved in a way that is accessible of everyone, that is accessible to everyone, that is inclusive of everyone. So as such, we worked with the Ann Arbor Center for Independent Living. We worked with Ann Arbor Public Schools and some of their PE teachers in Project Healthy Schools as well, based out of University of Michigan, to create lesson plans that were very much so replicas of the lesson plans that they already used, but then included sports and activities such as adaptive fitness, adaptive yoga, goal ball, sitting volleyball, wheelchair tennis, and wheelchair basketball. Really, the kind of creation aspect of it, the lesson planning and the training and the educational components of ACERI, the abbreviation of that, that was just a collection of great minds like Alex Gossage from the ACIL and people from Adaptive Sports and Fitness. Where the grant came in is it gave us the opportunity to purchase adaptive sports equipment. And really the cohesion of the two then allowed us to deliver lesson plans, curriculum, and content that normalized disability. Is when we went around to the schools over the 6 week, and each school had a 6 week period to then deliver each of these lesson plans, which was phenomenal as well. It wasn't just a 1 day expo or a tried event. This was delivered over a 6 week period at each middle school in Ann Arbor. And what was fascinating to see is at the end of each 2 week interval, when schools would rotate between lesson plans or equipment, is to then witness the PE classes, to see the grade 6 students playing adaptive sports, participating in adaptive activities in a way that was just completely normal, just another day in gym class. And that was the outcome that we wanted to see, is that we could use adaptive sport as a tool to then normalize disability, to have those discussions with students, to bring forward the discourse that talks about accessibility, that talks about inclusion, and then in an intersectional way, use that as a platform to talk about other issues of inclusion within the classroom setting and how that relates to every aspect of their lives. So it was a very powerful initiative and program that we delivered this past year, and something that we are seeking to continue to expand in subsequent years to reach more schools, more grades, other districts, and eventually make this a statewide initiative. Now, the fourth component, now at the top right of the graphic, we have adaptive fitness. As I was talking about at the beginning of the presentation, fitness was the expansion of the program, recognizing that not everybody with a disability necessarily wants to be an athlete, same as the able-bodied population. And the fitness component was the opportunity to then support individuals to then meet their physical activity needs for whatever purpose that may be. So again, working with the Ann Arbor Center for Independent Living and Alex and Will and other folks there, we were able to receive a grant from the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation. Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation supports people with paralysis and facilitating their access and opportunity to then engage in physical activity. So we wrote this grant for the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation to then renovate the fitness center at the Ann Arbor Center for Independent Living. So a bit of a sneak peek preview in terms of what's new at the ACIL. We were able to renovate the ACIL Fitness Center to then increase the capacity of what could be done there in terms of people that could go in and use the space. But then we also intentionally brought in various pieces of equipment that were accessible to a wide variety of populations, so that you could go in there, have a workout, but it also created a communal space where people of similar lived experiences and what have you could come, work out, and have a social place where they could gather and be physically active and bond over something that they could do together. So I have some pictures about regarding the ACIL a little bit later on. Then we have our adaptive sports component. Our adaptive sports, we have competitive and recreational programming in wheelchair tennis, track and field, and wheelchair basketball. We also have a partnership with Therapeutic Riding Inc. based in Ann Arbor. Therapeutic Riding Inc. provides para-equestrian, para-dressage, and other equine-related activities and volunteer opportunities as well for those that are interested. For people with disabilities and various other challenges taken from their mission and scope of what they do. Now, we don't have any para-equestrian athletes right now at the University of Michigan, but if we had any students that were interested in taking that up or exploring what para-dressage or para-equestrian was all about, we could then kind of work with our partners at TRI to then support that. But importantly, what I'm going to talk about is the wheelchair tennis, track and field, and wheelchair basketball aspect, and what makes those programs so special. Now, with wheelchair tennis, apart from the varsity programming that we do for our student athletes, we also have drop-in programming. And the reason we have drop-in programming goes back to the purpose of adaptive sports and fitness, and that we're trying to invite in people with and without disabilities. The drop-in programming that we do for wheelchair tennis is open to students, staff, faculty, and members of the public that want to try wheelchair tennis. Right now, we're doing that once a week at the Varsity Tennis Center on Thursday nights, if you're interested in coming out and giving it a try. Because while we invite everybody to come out and try wheelchair tennis, and we have the sport chairs and tennis rackets to be able to do so, some people might not feel comfortable getting in a sport chair and choose to play standing up. That's completely okay. What makes wheelchair tennis such a great sport is that you can have complete integration of stand-up players and seated players at the same time, in that the wheelchair tennis player still gets 2 bounces and the person playing ambulated gets 1 bounce. So we've seen some great participants come through, whether it's with intellectual or physical disabilities, come to our drop-in programming that have really gotten a lot out of it. And especially during the school year, where we have our varsity athletes play on one court and the drop-in athletes play side by side, and just creates a really neat dynamic between everybody involved. When it comes to track and field, what makes that very unique is we have a broad mix of individuals that participate in our programming, from cerebral palsy to single leg amputees to people with paralysis. So that just makes it a very interesting environment, because our coaches have been phenomenal in adapting the programming and exercises that they do to meet the various physical needs and adaptations and accessibility needs of the people that participate. Wheelchair basketball, I particularly get excited about, not just because of my former background and, I guess still a current background in wheelchair basketball as an athlete and a professional, but our wheelchair basketball team, our competitive team, is a hybrid team, in that it's made up of some student athletes, but it's also open to community members as well. So if you or you know of anyone that would like to play wheelchair basketball, we have, again, drop-in programming that's open to anyone to come. We have chairs available. We cover the access fees to the rec center, everything like that. But if you wanted to take that a step further and you enjoy the drop-in programming, we encourage community programming as part of the wheelchair basketball component. And our team is made up of several student athletes, and then the rest are community members, like I said. And what makes that so special, again, going back to the point about how we can be intentional about expanding the efforts and impact beyond the confines of the University of Michigan, and how that then benefits the University of Michigan, is that we had one of our community members that loved it so much, was just thrilled about the inclusive nature and how they felt a greater sense of belonging, that they then applied to the University of Michigan, got in, and is now starting with us in the fall. Now, I say that not to promote University of Michigan as your school of choice, but as an example of how the return on investment that companies can have, that organizations can have, when they are inclusive, when they do open up their doors, and they think about things differently, not the way that things are always done around here. This just talks about what we've done before, and actually also touches upon the University Health Services aspect that I was mentioning before, and how we've been able to partner with the UHS department to then expand health and wellness resources for our student athletes with disabilities. The next step of that is getting them to then support the community aspect of what we do as well. Great opportunity for this, and what we're working with them towards. We're hosting a wheelchair tennis tournament at the University of Michigan, intercollegiate focus tournament, August 12th to the 14th. And one of the, I guess, big goals that I have that we're trying to then work towards is get them to provide support for this event, not only for the intercollegiate aspect, but we also plan on having a public clinic as part of this event as well. So if you're interested in coming out to either spectate at the event or participate in the clinic, that is an opportunity. That will be August 12th to the 14th. But is to then get them to understand how they can then work with us to provide community-facing impact as well in terms of the work that they do. This is to just show off some of the facilities that we then do our drop-in programming and varsity competition and training at. But these are facilities that we also have access to for our drop-in programming that's open to students, staff, faculty, members of the public with or without disabilities as well. Now, this gets into the Ann Arbor Center for Independent Living, where we have team strength and conditioning sessions, but we also open it up to our athletes and community members as well that would then like to then engage in fitness activities and train. And this is just a sneak peek of what it looks like. It is a little bit more updated now as we've moved in some more equipment, and some more might be delivered next week, FYI. But the second room that you do not see as well, and behind the yellow wall with the two windows, is a cardio room with new steps, a VitaGlide, a SCI Fit. So to just give a brief image description here, there's 3 images. The image on the leftmost panel is facing a wall with a mural on it, painted by the AACIL. It has a squat rack with plates. It has a treadmill, 2 boxing bags, and a couple of new steps. In the image center panel, on the center of the panel, in the far back of the room, you see a rack with medicine balls. You see 3 benches to do various workouts on. There is a squat and bench rack. There is a dumbbell rack on the floor that you might not be able to see. There is a conditioning rope as well as various resistance bands. And then on the rightmost image, you see a picture that is almost an appendage of the 2, in that it just provides a room or a view of the back wall with some features and equipment from both the first and the second images. So, to summarize again, we have everything in there from boxing bags to squat racks to benches and dumbbells and new steps, and a lot of different ways and methods that people can then get in their physical activity and get in a great workout. So to highlight some things that we've done as a program, athletically, we've had a lot of success, whether it's in track and field, tennis, or wheelchair basketball. Wheelchair basketball with our inaugural season this past year and coming 8th in the country, which was fantastic. But as we're starting to expand in our reach and scope in the various tournaments that we're going to, it is a positive feedback cycle as we go out to these different communities, especially for track and field as well. Recent story, we were out in Wisconsin for a track and field meet, and this was a junior age track and field meet, which a couple of our younger student athletes then qualified for because of the age category. And you could just see the excitement of the parents, the excitement of the youth to see that there's a university out there, there's a university in their back door, albeit, we were in enemy territory, I guess, being in Wisconsin, but there's a university out there that really facilitates and links the pipeline for their kids so that they can be active in their youth, they can be active when they go to high school. Now they can be active when they go to university, and that can be a core part of their post-secondary experience. Now, apart from the athletic things that we do, I talked about the various grants and projects that we've taken on to then really focus on the community aspect, whether that's renovating and working with the ACIL to renovate their gym, or the school's initiative, or Prescription to Play. And we're continuing to look for ways to continue those community impacts as well. To give the wheelchair tennis team some credit, in our first year, quite remarkable, we had great success at Collegiate Nationals, coming in second place in the team competition with various other individual accolades. But again, this was the reason why I bring up the tennis team and our other competitive athletes, is the fact that we are now creating opportunity for youth, for kids, for even adults who want to come back to university and continue their education at some other point in their life. We're now creating that opportunity that people can have that student-athlete experience that did not exist before. The same goes for our track and field team and the various competitions that we travel to as well. And I just gave that most recent example of us being out in Wisconsin and really connecting with a lot of families and youth out there that did not know or did not foresee that they were going to have opportunities beyond what they did in elementary school and high school. And then, of course, we have our wheelchair basketball team, which promoted before. If you or you know of anyone that is a wheelchair basketball athlete or wants to give the sport a try, we're always welcome to have new people come out and give the sport a whirl. And like I said, our competitive team as well is open to members of the public. Now, the story of adaptive sports and fitness at the University of Michigan has been turbulent. I talked a little bit about that at the beginning of the session, is that we're challenging the norms, we're challenging the systemic issues that exist at the University of Michigan, and that the university experience going way back is not designed for people with disabilities, whether that's physical, whether that's policy, whether that's the academic accommodations that are required to then support equitable experiences and success at the university level. So what we have done is really challenge the way that departments, that leadership, that people view disability on campus, and that has come with trouble, that has come with a slap on the wrist from time to time, but much needed. As I said at the beginning of the presentation, the ADA is 30 years young, yet there's still so many examples around the campus that we're constantly advocating for change, whether that's COVID testing, whether it's, again, academic or testing policies, whether it's access to health and wellness resources, or just the opportunity to have the complete student life experience at the university. Now, what we're also trying to do is not build just an adaptive sports and fitness program. We're a believer that that would be a situation in which we are then separate but equal, and we know that separate is inherently unequal. Calling upon history again there. What we're really trying to aim to do with the program is to integrate it into every aspect of what the university does. There's no reason why myself and Dr. O, the director of the program, and our volunteer staff should be responsible for the fundraising, for the marketing, for the publication, for the recruitment. Why should that responsibility, why should that burden be placed on really a select few individuals that believe in this cause? This should be spread. This should be part of the agenda of the broader university and each and every department that exists at the university. A great model of this is actually the U.S. Tennis Association and the recent changes that they've made to their organizational structure, where they used to have one or two people that made up their wheelchair tennis department, and they've completely scrapped that now, where from the top down, every aspect of the organization, part of their job responsibility is to include wheelchair tennis, adaptive tennis, and all abilities tennis, to then make that a core part of what they do. It really place the accountability on everyone and the role that they have in making the organization, making what they do inclusive. So with that, that concludes the presentation that I have for you today. I hope you gained something from this about what we're trying to do with the program at the University of Michigan. Contact information is up there. Again, my name is Eric Robezniks, E-R-I-K. Last name is R-O-B-E-Z-N-I-E-K-S. Very long, but my email is a lot easier. It's just erikrob, E-R-I-K-R-O-B, at umich.edu. So happy to answer any questions that people have at this time.
I have a microphone for questions. Just a moment. Here you go.
Hi. So when I went to high school, there was a classmate I had. She was blind, and I guess the Spanish Braille edition didn't come in, and the teacher failed her for the entire year. And it was shocking. You know, I mean, I'm going to class, but she can't participate, is now being failed. And, you know, high school is important, and it opens the doors to so many things, and here she's failed for the complete year. But that was in Metro Detroit. That was not in, you know, our Washtenaw County. And I think earlier on you had mentioned that, you know, working with IEPs and maybe going to different areas, I guess, outside of Ann Arbor, in different schools. Have you guys had I don't know, more barriers to implementing, I don't know, adaptive sports with teachers like that, I guess is my question.
Sorry. We have received requests from time to time from other school districts, not necessarily as it relates to academic accommodations or accessibility, but we've received emails from parents about their kid not being allowed to play on the football team, or their kid not being able to compete for their track and field team due to various accessibility reasons. And you know, the fundamental law behind that is the ADA, but really I'm forgetting the name of the law now, but there is. It'll come back to me probably like 5 minutes from now, but there are laws in place that necessitate that school districts, and you know, really it's quite clear for publicly funded institutions and sports organizations and athletic associations to then afford equitable opportunity for people with physical disabilities. So we really lean on that and really try to help educate and provide resources for parents that reach out to us about those topics, and that as long as it does not fundamentally alter the nature of the activity, in which we know in a lot of cases people can be included in a way that does not fundamentally alter the nature of the activity, people with disabilities need to be included in the opportunities that are present at their school. And if they can't be done in such a way that that then would fundamentally alter the nature of the activity, the school and the school board is then responsible for creating an opportunity that would then be inclusive of not only that individual but of everybody, recognizing that they have failed to then provide a service that is inclusive of everybody.
Any other questions? All right, just a couple more.
Hi, how do I find out about adaptive sports in my community?
Mm-hmm. What community do you live in?
I live in Macomb County.
I would say a good resource is the Great Lakes Adaptive Sports Association, GLASA for short. GLASA is kind of a larger umbrella organization in a sense that they are very connected with athletes and organizations and programs that provide adaptive sports and recreation across the Midwest. So I would look up GLASA and try to get in contact with them, because they might know of more resources that exist in that region, and probably more than we even know, because they've been doing this for 30 some odd years, and they have a lot of strong community connections.
Hi, Eric. You sound Canadian, are you?
How'd you know?
Anybody else? All right. A moment. Oh, did you? I thought that was your question.
Besides knowing if you're Canadian, I was just curious, as you mentioned surgeons earlier, the University of Michigan has a strong medical school and surgical representation. How is it that you specifically interact with the medical students and surgeons?
Yeah, with medical students, they have a disability health elective where we have visiting guest lecturers, not just from our program, but from other departments at the university, from other people outside the university that then lecture for the students that take the disability health elective. So that's one. And then we also bring the people that sign up for the disability health elective out to our programming. Michigan Medicine, for all their medical students, they do an orientation at the beginning of the school year called the M-Home Olympics. Now, they recently reached out to us to talk to us about how they could make the event more accessible and inclusive. One of the first suggestions that I had was, well, if you want to be more inclusive, the Paralympics do exist. So the name would be the first item on the agenda. But being a bit tongue in cheek there. But so we're going to work with them on how they can make their orientation more accessible for all of their students. And the medical school also does an internship that's specifically related to disability health called M-Disability. So there's that as well. And then when it comes to our Prescription to Play initiative, we're just getting that going, and we'll be able to share more as we develop more of that initiative.
Did you have a question?
I was just wondering what the role of UMAIS that you see in your programming with the pediatric program at the hospital.
Yeah, I think tapping into UMAIS and partnering with them is going to be the next phase of growth for us, recognizing that UMAIS can play a very specific role, and they already do, in terms of providing the recreational, therapeutic, and youth aspect of programming. And that then explicitly makes a connection, makes a pipeline, so that youth can then gain an entry and access to sport and physical activity from an earlier age, and then it just creates a natural pipeline, natural connection to what we do through adaptive sports and fitness. So definitely that partnership and collaboration is in the works, and is something that we're going to be working on to then really kind of build out this whole ecosystem in the Ann Arbor area.
All right, anybody else?
Do you have any type of collaborative relationship with the United States Association of Blind Athletes?
No, we do not at this time. So we have goalball as part of our school's initiative, and that was a huge hit, and the reason why I was excited about that is because our program, and really by nature of the fact of the student athletes who came to the forefront and joined our program early on, were all wheelchair athletes. And then we got into the ambulatory aspect and amputee aspect through our track and field program. But goalball was the first time that we were then intentionally able to expand the efforts of what we did to the community of people that are blind or low vision, and was received very positively in the public schools. The kids loved playing goalball in their gym class, and that's something that we're now looking at incorporating in terms of our drop-in program and rec programming at Michigan as well.
That's great. I'm excited that goalball is being picked up. The other big initiative that they have is five-a-side soccer,
Yep.
which is such an inclusive community sport that so many of our kids could participate in. And then as well as downhill skiing, we've got Brighton really close by, so that's another one that would be something that could get started up. And I think Brighton Adaptive Sports already had something going.
Yeah, I believe there's an adaptive program that exists at Brighton there. And in terms of five-a-side, I was talking about the M-Home Olympics. That's actually one of the activities that we're going to work with them to then facilitate, is to have everyone play five-a-side soccer where, you know, the people with vision are wearing blindfolds, etc. And yeah.
All right. Well, everybody, please join me in thanking Eric for the wonderful presentation from U of M Adaptive Sports and Fitness. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
you. That would be
It'll be my first one, so I may need to come and I'll go
yes,
do that now.
that would be great.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Yeah, I think. All right. All right.
Sure.
It's Katie. I work here at the Ann Arbor District Library and the Washtenaw Library for the Blind and Print Disabled. Thank you all for coming to Visions 2022. We are so excited to have you here. Just really quickly, if you have your cell phone on you, if you could turn that down so that everybody can enjoy the presentation, we would appreciate it. But other than that, I think I'm ready to introduce our next speaker. We have Alex Gossage joining us today from the Center of Independent Living, and he is going to tell us what is new at our CIL. Thank you, Alex.
All right, thank you. First of all, can everybody hear me? I'm sitting a little far back, so I just want to make sure the mic is picking me up. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Glad to be in front of folks again. I think this is the first live presentation I have done in over 2 years, so I'm glad to be able to be here with you all today. I will be honest with you, I haven't had to give a presentation that's not on a Zoom in quite a while, so I might be a little bit rusty, but we'll see what happens. As Katie mentioned, my name is Alex Gossage. I'm the Executive Director for the Ann Arbor Center for Independent Living. I'm going to talk about our organization today. I'm going to try to be a little lighter on my normal talk, which is the real basic pieces of a CIL or a Center for Independent Living, and focus more on some of the things that have changed and the things that are new as of the last couple of years, as a lot of things have changed. But there is a lot that has not. So what is a Center for Independent Living? Centers for Independent Living are community organizations that are run by people with disabilities for people with disabilities. Majority of our staff, as well as our board, are people with disabilities. I myself have spina bifida. I'm a wheelchair user. I did not give a physical description earlier. I do apologize. But I am a 41-year-old white male with a large scraggly beard and a fair bit more white hair than I would like to admit at this time in my life. But I'm glad to be here with you all today. As I mentioned, most of our staff are people with disabilities. I think last I checked, it was about 80% of our staff identify as having some sort of disability. And when we're talking about disabilities, I think of us as a cross-disability organization, and I think of us as an organization that if you identify as having a disability, then you are a person with a disability. I'm not being picky about what you classify that as and what somebody else does. In addition to that, our board is also majority members, individuals with disabilities. Our mission is to empower the lives of people with disabilities and advocate for a more inclusive community for all. So in addition to providing services, we do a lot of advocacy work in the community as well. And where specifically when I'm talking about the community is that, well, for us, that is Washtenaw, Livingston, and Monroe County. There are 15, technically probably 13 centers for independent living here in Michigan. Many of them have different names. Disability Network, with something following that is one you might hear of. I know an individual asked about Oakland County or Macomb County maybe in the previous presentation. So the Center for Independent Living there would be Disability Network Oakland and Macomb County. Actually now Disability Network Eastern Michigan County, or Eastern Michigan. But the Centers for Independent Living Ann Arbor specifically has kept its name as the same name we have had since our founding in 1976. We were the first Center for Independent Living here in Michigan, and I believe the 5th in the country. So we have been around here a long time, but as we like to say, and folks like to say, and maybe not in a good way sometimes, but we are, I think, one of our best kept secrets in our communities, whether it's my Center for Independent Living that I work with, or it's any of the ones in our other communities here in Michigan. And I'd be happy to talk about those later, but if folks are interested, I'd also be happy to connect them with somebody that's local if you are not from Washtenaw, Livingston, or Monroe County. So what is it that we do? Well, typically when I give this presentation, I go through and I talk about what we call our core services. Centers for Independent Living receive federal and state funding, and as a result of that, through the Rehabilitation Act, there are guidelines that we have to follow. So in addition to the makeup of our organization, being majority individuals with disabilities, there are specific things that we have to provide. The first of those that I usually talk about is information and referral, or community information and referral. What this is simply connecting individuals in our communities with resources. In previous years, prior to COVID, this was done oftentimes over the phone. This was done oftentimes with folks coming into our agency and being able to sit down with them and connect with them. In the last couple of years, we've integrated more of this virtual world that we see around us now, more Zoom meetings, more Zoom presentations, but as well, and I think something we've really tried to emphasize over the last several years is more collaborations. So Eric, who spoke prior to me, is an example of a collaboration that we've been able to build on in the last 3 years to provide more adaptive sports and fitness opportunities for people with disabilities in our communities. We recognize that social isolation is a huge issue for folks with disabilities, and there are a variety of reasons why social isolation exists. But one of those things is oftentimes lack of opportunities for folks to be able to participate in activities. So we do work with a lot of organizations like with them, and we also refer out to a lot of organizations. What I don't consider us, though, I would say, is I wouldn't call us a helping organization. I would call us an organization that supports people with disabilities. My preference is that when we're working with folks in the community and they're in need of resources, that we're helping them, guide them through process, guide them to the right places in our community to get what it is that they need. So that particular resource, I would not say has definitely changed. It's not a new one, but it's one I think it's always important to mention. Now, to get to, I think, some of the things that really have changed over the last couple of years, what we call our independent living skills development, our skills training, is another service that we provide. And this is something I think that has seen a lot of different changes within the last couple of years, especially. For, I would say, the better part of since March of 2020, we were we all were sent home. We all went home, started working from home for the most part. And our organization in particular has more or less adhered to that for the last couple of years. I would say within the last 6 months, our staff has started to get back into the office, and we're starting to see members of the community back in our building as well. And I'll talk about our facility in a little while here. But with that, everybody went online. We started connecting with folks virtually and started providing a variety of different services and supports. One thing that I'm particularly proud of that we were able to do work around in this last couple of years is around assistive technology. Assistive technology is oftentimes a term that's kind of used as a blanket for a lot of different things. It can be assistive technology. It can be something that's going to help you hold a pen, but it also can be something that's related to your computer. And for us, in the last couple of years, we were able to identify and utilize resources to connect individuals, over 300 individuals in our 3 counties, with electronic devices, mostly tablets, sometimes printers, sometimes Wi-Fi, in order to get folks connected to technology online and be able to attend telehealth appointments, be able to have social connection with folks. And while that's not necessarily in person, it is an opportunity to connect with people. So we have been doing this now since, I believe, January of 2021. We've been able to get, as I mentioned, over 300 devices out into the community, and we've also started working with individuals, helping them learn how to use those devices, providing both in-person and video training so folks are comfortable accessing all of the things that they need to access on those devices. In addition, I think we're going to be branching out into the next year and really looking more at these home AI devices, Alexas and things like that. Many years ago, the Center for Independent Living had a person on staff who was a rehabilitation engineer. those kinds of things in their own homes, and they'd have to get specialized equipment to help do that. In a lot of cases now, we can use some of these home devices to do that. And so we've started really, as we're redeveloping this assistive technology program at the CIL, that's kind of the area we're focusing on right now. And hopefully I'm looking forward to there being more opportunities to do that sort of work in the future. In addition, I would say one thing that we've done for many, many years now, and something that does continue to change those, is providing individuals with employment-related services. We've been a longtime partner with Michigan Rehabilitation Services, as well as the Bureau for Services for Blind Persons, providing different sorts of training activities, whether that be in the high school setting or that be in a community setting with adults. Now, over the last couple of years, everything has been, again, fully remote, so we've been meeting with folks online. We've been doing a lot of work and training around helping individuals and supporting individuals with learning how to fill out resumes or applications online, working with individuals and making sure that they're comfortable giving a job interview or being part of a job interview online. So a lot of these things that we've really switched over to is to be more cognizant, I think, and more purposeful in the work that we do, and recognizing that there are many different ways that we as people connect with one another. And sometimes that's in person, and we've done a lot of in person over the last 40 plus years. But a lot of it, and increasingly so, is becoming virtual, and we need to make sure that as an organization we continue to help people meet them where they are at. If in person is where you are at, and we're happy to support with that, and happy to connect with folks. If learning to be online or being connected virtually is where someone else is at, that's where we will be as well. So we try to connect with individuals, having their own goals and working with them to reach those goals. And oftentimes that can be employment related. No longer, I will say, we used to have a small business development program where we could assist folks with developing small business. That's not something we currently are able to offer at the CIL. So that program, unfortunately, is dormant, I would say, at the moment. But a lot of the work that we do now with employment is not only training based, but we are starting to do work with connecting individuals to employers in the community. We are doing more work with also educating employers in the community and creating greater awareness of disability, and working with individuals with disabilities as both employees, employers, and as customers. So we've really tried to expand our employment offerings over the last couple of years, and I'm looking forward to seeing us being more active and connecting more often with employers and businesses in the community, because I think that that's where we need to be, and that's the best place for us to be able to make connections for folks when the job market can be challenging. And right now I recognize the job market isn't necessarily as challenging as it once was, but that does not mean that there still are not barriers for people with disabilities out in the community. One of the most important things that the Ann Arbor CIL does that is something we were able to restart, I would say, in the last 4 years. We were not doing it for a couple of years formally, at least, is what we call nursing facility transition. For a whole variety of different reasons, folks with disabilities in our communities end up in nursing facilities, living in nursing facilities. And once you're in a nursing facility, it's incredibly difficult to figure out how to get back out into the community. And so for those individuals, whether they are on Medicaid or if they have other supports in place, we work with them to help transition them into apartments in the community, help them get connected to personal care assistance, which is a huge barrier right now with there being lack of personal care assistance in our community. We work with them and also making sure that they have the supports they need to stay in their apartment, and make sure that they don't go back to those nursing facility, or that there isn't a reason for or cause for them to have to go back. So we do this transition work with, I would say, probably about 20 to 25 nursing facilities in our 3-county region. And I believe at this point in the year, we've transitioned about 35 individuals. either back into their own homes or into new residence for themselves. And so far, all of those individuals continue to live independently in the community. So again, that's not necessarily something new, but it is something that is incredibly important. And there are not always enough resources, and there's not always enough knowledge and know-how of how to get folks from who are in those nursing facilities back out into the community. Now, along those same lines, a new program that we are offering, and I apologize, oftentimes I'm probably using lingo and jargon, and I'll try not to, but I didn't come up with all the names for these different things. There's a program called Options Counseling, and what Options Counseling is more of a diversion program. It's helping individuals with disabilities understand what resources might be available to them so that they can continue staying and living in the community and not have to move into a nursing facility for whatever the reason might be. For many, many years, I think the state of Michigan has done, or at least organizations around the state of Michigan have done a lot of work with this transition piece and less so around this diversion piece. But I think we're going to be seeing more of that happening in the next 10 years, if not well into the future, especially after all of the problems that we have seen in nursing facilities, not only during COVID, in which we saw lots of folks who had COVID or were recovering from COVID were going into those facilities, but prior to that. And not only is it good for the individual, not only is it something that increases or improves quality of life for folks who are able to live in the community, but it is honestly also money better spent, tax money better spent for folks, so that resources can be used elsewhere for the many, many different needs that we see in our communities. Another area where we have been doing a lot of work in the last, for the last 20 years, we've been doing a lot of work in this area, and I would say more in the last decade, we've been doing a lot of work not only assisting individuals with disabilities or youth with disabilities in becoming employment ready, working in the schools, providing trainings, partnering with our local intermediate school districts, as again with our local rehabilitation organizations, but also connecting individuals with resources. For I would say the last year especially, we have received a lot of calls with individuals who want to talk about a family member who needs a variety of different supports, including possibly guardianship. And so we like to talk a lot about alternatives to guardianship. For folks who are unaware, guardianship is the sort of thing where it can be very, it can be very permanent. It can be very challenging to I would say roll back once it's in place. And in a lot of ways, it really takes away somebody's personhood. It takes away their ability to make choices for themselves at some point in their life. And so we'd like to talk with folks about what some of those alternatives might be, and how there can be pieces in place so that maybe somebody is helping to monitor financial means. But there are other pieces in that individual's life where they are continuing to make the decisions that they want to for themselves. So that is an area where we have seen, as I mentioned, a huge increase in the last year, if not the last few years, of individuals trying to talk more and more about that. In addition, we do provide, and I'll talk about this in a few slides, I believe, probably 3 or 4 from here. I don't have a terribly long slideshow. But creating peer support groups, peer groups, social and recreational opportunities, as well as connecting individuals one-on-one to provide what I call, or what we call, peer support. And I'll talk about that in a little while here. Before I get to that, though, one of the areas that Centers for Independent Living have been critical in over the last several decades is advocacy. Whether that's individual advocacy or systems-based advocacy. Our particular CIL, I know, was partnering with a variety of different agencies, especially during the original COVID outbreaks, making sure that the issues of medical rationing were brought to the forefront, were brought forward. So we were working with a lot of our partner organizations around the state to make sure that information was being shared, that individuals' rights were not being violated, and that folks were being treated equitably. So that's one example of advocacy that we've been engaged with in the last couple of years especially. For many years, voting advocacy has been something that we've been part of, whether that be working with clerks' offices to make sure that voting sites are accessible, but helping individuals understand changes that have happened in the last several years with voting. It's been easier now more than ever in order for folks to be able to vote from home. And so helping individuals understand how you do that, where you turn in application, or where you turn in your voter cards and all of those things is something that we assist with. One way we have done this, and I would say, is a program we call DCAL, which is Disability Community Action Lab. The purpose of this was to not have an organization of paid staff people be the main focus, or make themselves the main focus of advocacy efforts. The purpose of it was to gather more individuals from our community, people with disabilities who have interests in various areas of our community and our civic life, and to work together in order to make our communities better and stronger for one another. And so for the last couple of years, we have been growing slowly but surely with gathering more people with disabilities to get out into the community, to write letters to our state reps, to attend community meetings, and work on issues. As I mentioned earlier, COVID-related concerns have been creeping up, but we've also been dealing with a lot of long-standing issues, such as sub-minimum wage. So working with our legislators, talking with our legislators, and advocating that we work to get rid of those kinds of things, that we work for more, again, equitable opportunities for people with disabilities. And one of the ways, as I mentioned, that we've done this is with this Disability Community Action Lab. In addition, with the advocacy piece, there's more of an educational side to it. One piece that we've been doing, I think, for the better part of 20 years now, is working with the Ann Arbor Public Schools with their 4th grade classes, providing what we call disability awareness workshops, which have been opportunities for young people to begin to have a better understanding of what disability is. And as Eric, the individual who preceded me today, had talked about, we've partnered with Michigan Adaptive Athletics, or Michigan Adaptive Sports and Fitness, to also begin work on creating greater disability awareness in those gym classes, to be able to talk about recreational and fitness opportunities. So those are kinds of things that we've really been building on in the last couple of years. It's been really difficult to try and do that. We did figure out ways to do those activities virtually, but I know we're really looking forward to being able to get back into the schools here in the next year and start to work with community members again in person. So that's something to definitely keep an eye out for. We're always in need of volunteers, and it is an incredibly rewarding opportunity for folks who are looking to work with young people in our community. In addition, we have what we've called slightly different, our disability awareness trainings, which are more business focused. In the last couple of years, we've been able to work with a variety of different transportation companies, not only here locally, but also around the state, educating bus drivers, educating paratransit providers, other individuals who are interacting with people with disabilities on a regular basis, again, so that they have a better understanding of disability, have a better understanding of how they can accommodate an individual with a disability when needs arise. In addition to that, we've also been doing that, as I mentioned earlier, with employers. So working with local businesses, talking with local businesses about disability. One of the things that I'm hoping that we will be able to begin here in the next year, in the next 6 months maybe, is also providing something that we used to do a while ago, not so much in the last few years, but try to work with local businesses to make sure that they are being more accommodating, more accessible to all people with all variety of disabilities. And so that's another program I'm hopeful that we'll be able to look through in the next year. Now to get to some of the fun stuff, I'm going to talk about a couple of different things here. Just what peer support is, though, for us. Peer support is a core service. It's that idea of individuals with disabilities connecting with one another, sharing like experiences, being able to not only make friends, but understand how maybe to overcome a barrier or work with other individuals towards some sort of systems change. In terms of the support, some of the things that we've done classically are either to facilitate or provide space in our building for a variety of different support groups, whether that be a multiple sclerosis support group, we've had a deaf and hard of hearing support group, spinal cord injury support group is one that we've done in partnership with Michigan Medicine for probably over 25 years now, and something that we were able to not only create a large virtual group for individuals with spinal cord injuries to connect on a regular basis, but also look at and connect those individuals with resources, especially as they were being affected by COVID and when we were all really, for lack of a better word, stuck at home. When we're having difficulties accessing transportation, or more so than previously, so that we could go grocery shopping, so that we could make medical appointments, working with individuals to make sure that they had the resources that they need in order to be able to make it through with those tasks. But in addition to the support group, and this is a link to this is actually linked to the City of Ann Arbor's website as far as other peer programs. But what I want to focus on is an area where we've really done a lot of work in the last couple of years to create more virtual and what will eventually be more hybrid recreation, leisure, and social programs. At this time, we have a movie club and a trivia, what we call Trivia Tuesdays, as well as Tasty Tuesdays, which is a virtual cooking class. Those are things that we either are running weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. We have also, as Eric alluded to earlier, created opportunities for individuals, once our building is fully opened back up, probably later this summer, to utilize our gym space. We have a brand new gym space with all sorts of different accessible equipment that is something that's going to be available to any member of the community, as long as they come in, have a chat, and get orientated to all of those things, and they would be able to use and access that free of charge. In addition, we've also been doing free at-home fitness classes, and been able to offer those online as well. The other thing, in addition to our new gym space, and that's what I usually refer to it as, is our new gym space, we've also created a new art gallery space. We were able to work with some community members and some of our partners in the community to create a new space where individuals with disabilities who maybe are participating in what were in-person art classes for us a few years ago, and are now virtual art classes, to be able to display some of their art in the community, to be able to have an art showing, and to be able to have it in a space that we've made completely accessible, that's made completely open, and I think is really just a fantastic thing. Almost done here. I'm going to talk about a couple of our upcoming events just so that folks are aware, and I think then I will just end with talking about where we are physically, how to contact us, and all of those things. Every year, with really from the last couple of years excluded, we have tried to do a summer celebration, usually sometime around the signing and the anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act. This year we will be having a summer celebration again in person, and that will be held July 21st, which is going to be at Sterling State Park, which is in Monroe County. It's right on Lake Erie for folks who are not familiar. The other thing that'll be happening this summer that we are partnering with some of our friends at the University of Michigan, as well as other organizations such as Detroit Disability Power, is to have a Southeast Michigan Disability Pride Celebration, which will be held at Eastern Market in Detroit on August 23rd. Well, all of that information should be available either on our website which is www.annarborcil.org. Or if you go upstairs before 4 o'clock today, we do have a table. I believe it's table number 5, which is, and we have a lot of flyers for not only our upcoming summer celebration, but a lot of the services that we provide and a lot of just general information that I think folks find helpful. The best ways to reach us these days are to give us a call. And our phone number, just so folks have it, and again, there's information upstairs, is 734-971-0277. Our website, which I'll say again, is www.annarborcil.org, does have a calendar which lists when and how to access all of the different events and activities that we have going on. And we can also be available to individuals through email who have different requests and supports. And finally, I'll just mention, and I didn't put it on here, and that was an oversight on my part, but we do have 2 physical locations. Right now, my goal prior to COVID was to have a physical space for our staff to be located in Livingston County. Right now, we don't have that, as it didn't seem practical for the last couple of years. But we do have our space here in the Ann Arbor area over on Research Park Drive, 3941 Research Park Drive. That's over by Staten Ellsworth for folks who are not familiar with the area. And we do also have a physical location down in Monroe County. So that is really all I have to share for today. I'm happy to take questions. I know there was a lot of things I probably didn't go into as much detail as I normally might, but I did try to focus on some of the newer things that we were doing. But happy to take questions, and I'll be here afterwards as well.
I have a microphone for any questions. Just a moment. Here you go.
Hi. Is there a CIL in the Genesee Flint township or area?
Yeah, so the Center for Independent Living that covers Genesee County, and I think it's not Saginaw. I know Genesee County for sure. I think there's one other county as well, is the Disability Network. Yep.
So it is the Disability Network.
The Disability Network is the Center for Independent Living in the Flint area, I could say.
Okay, and that's the CIL.
Yep. No problem.
Anybody else have any questions for Alex? All right, well, join me in thanking him very much for the wonderful presentation. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Microphone's on yet. It is 2:56. At 3 o'clock, I will do a little introduction for you,
Okay.
and then I will let you talk for about 45 minutes. And if you're still going, then I will ask you to wrap it up. Sound good? Do you want a
Good.
chair?
No.
You're good?
Fine.
Okay.
I kind of pace, so
Yeah.
we're probably not going to have a huge crowd in here, so
No,
that's okay.
probably not. Yep, our last of the day. We're winding down a little bit, but certainly the people that are there's 5 people in the room right now already. So certain.
Oh.
Beth just got here, 6. And this is Steve. He's here. He's our tech guy.
Hi, Steve.
Good. Hi. Just wanted. I heard you wanted to pace. So we have actually a wireless microphone here. If you want to grab that.
Oh,
at any
a lavalier?
Not a lavalier, handheld. I have it in front of you here.
Got it. Okay.
So if that's
I may
more
use that.
comfortable for you,
Yeah. How do I turn this on?
It's already on.
Oh, okay, good.
I have it muted at the soundboard right now.
Okay.
You shouldn't have to do anything other than talk.
All right. Well, I'll start here and then.
Yeah.
Sometimes I pace a little bit. Wander around a room, down the hall.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, I have to run up and give Alex something, and then I'm going to come right back down, and
Okay.
it'll be time to do your intro.
Alrighty.
Need anything else before
No,
we get started?
I'm fine, thank
Okay,
you.
thanks.
I like your pocket square. I'm a fan of the color of your pocket square. It's very nice.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. No problem.
Who's did they hire somebody to replace Eli?
No, Eli was promoted actually. He is now the director of the library.
Right, that I knew, but he was the head of technology, right?
Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, I'm pretty sure someone came in to fill that void. I think Ryan Eby is our tech head now.
Oh, okay.
But I could be wrong.
Because I saw the email when they, on Mish Live, announcing that. Well, I knew Josie was leaving it, and I saw the posting, and then the announcement when Eli got the position. But I didn't remember seeing anything about his prior position being filled.
Right. So he was promoted from assistant director. So he had been
out of the tech stuff.
For
Okay.
a bit there, and then I believe our events. If this is too much information, stop me. But our head of events, I believe, went in and took the assistant position.
Oh, okay.
So there was a position there.
When Sushin Holt and I came down here in, when was it, 2010? We did a little thing for the staff training, like disability and etiquette. When the Library for the Blind, when AADL took over the Library for the Blind. And at that time, I believe Eli was the head of the head of technology. So I guess I didn't realize that he had been promoted to assistant director. So I guess I'm really out of the loop.
Hey, no worries. We're doing our thing, and you guys doing great. So.
Well, and that's like a lot of things. I read these emails and I go, yeah, okay, fine, and then 3 or 4 years later, wait a minute, where's she at such and such a? No, I left there 2.5 years.
That's kind of how things work nowadays. There's a lot of people move around.
Yeah.
I feel like a big part of Eli's, working in his favor for the promotion is just how long he's been here.
Yeah.
As we're noticing, kind of a rare thing these days. A lot of people. But yeah, I'll get out of your here since we're going on 3 o'clock here.
Okay.
Yeah, if you need anything or anything wrong, just let us know. Shout from Steve. Help me.
Okay. All right, cool. Thanks, Steve.
Scott, there's about 8 people in here now, and I'm
All
going
right.
to introduce you. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Katie, and I am happy to welcome you to the Ann Arbor District Library and the Washtenaw Library for the Blind and Print Disabled. Thank you so much for being here for Visions 2022. It's been a great day so far, and we're so happy to have you end the day here with us to talk about library services in the state of Michigan. And to tell us about that today, we have Scott Norris, who's the manager of the Braille and Talking Book Library in Lansing. So please join me in welcoming Scott to Visions.
Thanks, Katie. Here we are. I'll just do this. So, anybody have lunch? I had a Polish dog. It was really good. So, I recommend Raised Red Hots. As Katie said, I'm Scott Norris. I'm the manager of the Braille and Talking Book Library in Lansing. And we provide the same services Ann Arbor District Library. However, we serve the state. So when you get books in the mail or you get a machine, all of that comes from Lansing. I should say, if anybody has a question, please shout it out. If you have a negative comment, please raise your hand. So, how many of you get books from the Braille and Talking Book Library, or and when I say that, it could be Ann Arbor or it could be Lansing or wherever?
Looks like about 3 people, Scott.
Okay. So, for those of you that are unaware of our service, we provide audio and Braille books to people who have some type of print disability. And that could be a reading disability, it could be a physical disability that prevents you from holding a book or turning pages, or some type of visual disability that prevents you from reading print. And it could be that you are blind as myself, or it could be that you have some partial vision, but reading is difficult for you. So our service, there's no cost to it. Everything is done through the U.S. mail, so when you get audio books or Braille books, they come through the mail. You send them back to us at no cost to you. If the machine ever gets damaged or stops working, you call us up, we send you a new machine, you send the old one back through the mail. So that's basically our service. Okay, I'm done. Now, we also have the BARD service. BARD is in Braille and Audio Reading Download. And that service allows people to basically be your own librarian. And you can download books and read them either on our machine, or if you have an iOS product or an Android product, you can put the BARD mobile app on that, and you can download books and read them anytime you want. So if you're up at 2 in the morning and can't sleep, you could download a book and have it there in seconds. So that's the current state of affairs as far as the Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped goes throughout Michigan, and that includes Lansing and then our network of 11 AOCs around the state, including Ann Arbor. So what's going to happen next? We get our books and our machines, our publications from the National Library Service in Washington, D.C. The National Library Service is part of the Library of Congress. So some of the things that they are doing, they put BARD on the cloud. So it used to be housed in Washington, D.C. on a couple of servers. And now I believe they're using Amazon Web Services, and the BARD website has gone to the cloud. So what does that mean? Well, for starters, I can tell you from personal experience, the download speeds have increased because the load on the Library of Congress system was getting such that BARD was approaching 50% of the Library of Congress download capability. Now, and prior to the move to the cloud, they figured they had a capacity of about 150,000. Now they've got a capacity of 800,000 users. So as you can see, that's expanded quite a bit. And as I say, the download speeds have increased. Anybody here a Bard user? All right. So a couple of things that are going to happen to Bard, and some of this is going to happen supposedly before the end of the year, and we'll see what happens. One of the issues that I have with the Bard website is their search engine. So for anybody here that's ever tried to type in an author name, and if you can't spell George Pelecanos correctly, which I cannot do, well, I can spell George. But anyways, it's P-E-L something something, and it ends up in S. Anyways, George Pelecanos is a mystery writer, and most of his books take place in Washington, D.C. But at any rate, the Bard site in its current state does not allow for any spelling deviation. So in the future, and when I say the future, it should be this year, they're bringing their new Solar search engine online, and that will allow getting relevant results when we do a search like that for an author, as an example. So I can misspell George Pelecanos, and hopefully he'll come up now. So that will be, at least in my mind, it'll be a big help, because it's really frustrating when you're trying to look up an author and you didn't put 2 L's in the last name or something like that, and you're not coming up with the author that you want. So new search engine. Bard Mobile is, for those of you that need to reset your password occasionally, you'll be able to do that in the app. So that'll be handy. Some of the other things that are going on with Bard, for those of you that have partial vision and use magnification, they're going to optimize the website a little better for you for folks that use screen magnification. They're going to increase searching for magazines and foreign language books, which I don't know if anybody here speaks a foreign language, but for those of you that do, that will be very helpful also. Some of the other things that are going on. The new program that they're working on now is for smart speakers. So, at the end of the summer, they tell us that they're starting a pilot test, playing books, searching for books, looking up most popular books, most recent books, and you'll be able to do this on your Alexa. So if you've got an Alexa, regular Alexa, a show, whatever, you'll be able to play books, hopefully, maybe in the next year on your Alexa or your Google Assistant, either one. So those things are coming up, and again, is everybody going to be able to utilize these? Well, no. It does give people another tool that they can use in their toolbox to download and listen to books. The other thing that that they're working on is the Fire OS that Amazon uses. So you've heard of Fire TV, possibly, that Amazon has, or the Fire Stick. Anyways, they're going to have Bard optimized for the Fire operating system that Amazon uses, and that'll be another option for people to use when they want to play and download books. I should talk about Braille next. Yes. Uh-huh.
When I first heard, oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. We're just screaming.
It scared me. It's okay. When I first heard that Bard was going into a cloud, I thought what would happen next is it would have the same features that Audible does, where I could download it on my iPad. I could also read the same book from that same point on my iPhone, and I thought that's what going to the cloud meant. Do you know if there's any plans for that?
Yes, actually, I was going to get to that, but no, that's okay. Thanks for asking. So yes, and that's been in, the Bard mobile app for iOS came out in 2013, and that's one of the things that I've been asking for 9 years. So what the issue is here for everybody else, so if you have an iPhone and an iPad and you download a book, let's say John Grisham's The Investigator, which I think is his, not John Grisham, John Sanford, excuse me, which I believe is his latest book. Anyway, when you download that book and you download it to both devices and you start playing it on your phone, for example, now I pick up my iPad, I want to play the book, I'm at the beginning of the book because I haven't started it on my iPad yet. So what Marie is referring to is what's called syncing. So, and that's coming. And hopefully that's coming this year. So then Marie will be able to read her book on her phone, and then she can come home and pick up her iPad and pull up that same book, and it'll be in the spot where she stopped on her phone. Which I know for a lot of people that will be a big deal, including myself. I have two phones. I have my work phone and my personal phone, and well, I read them at home on my work phone. Yeah, to tell you the truth, I eat my lunch at my desk and then I just turn to my computer and start working again. I very, very seldom go out to lunch. I'm kind of a drag. So, but anyways, yeah, Marie, syncing is coming. That's one of the other big improvements. And you're right that going to the cloud should offer that. And that's that is a reason that they went to the cloud, so they can do this. A couple of other things. They are talking about letting you log in using Facebook or Google to Bard. Now that's probably a couple of years down the road. They're concerned about security issues with allowing that type of access. So stay tuned. So I'm going to talk about, do we have any Braille readers here? Okay. All right. Now I got to talk about the Braille e-reader. So if you stopped at our table today, Megan was demonstrating the Braille e-reader. This is a device that has 20 refreshable Braille cells, and you can Bluetooth it to your phone. You can download books. It has Wi-Fi capability. So you can download books to this from Bard and read the Braille book. That all sounds really cool, right? Well, NLS has been doing a pilot for the last couple of years. Part of it is because of the pandemic. The pilot ended in March for the Braille e-reader, and now they are going to send these out to the different states. However, they're having a problem. The two companies, Humanware and Zoomax, who are making these devices, they are having a problem getting 5 letters. Hey, bingo! All right. Somebody watches the news. So yes, just like everything else, cars, all kinds of things, appliances, anything that's got a chip in it, there's a chip shortage. So people have been asking me, well, are we going to get them this year? And at the beginning of the year, I was saying, yeah, I think we will. Now I'm saying I don't think so. Right now, the next state to get players is California. They're going to get a bunch. And NLS needs to build up the stock so they can send them to California. And then after that, they'll start sending them out to the different states. Now, as I said, there's 2 units. There's a Humanware and the Zoomax. Some people I know have told me they want the Humanware unit. Well, unfortunately, this is the way this is going to work. I'm going to get an email from NLS, and they're going to say, we're shipping you your Braille e-readers. You're going to get, and then it'll either be Humanware or Zoomax. I don't have a choice. I have to either take what they're going to send me or make people wait for some undetermined amount of time. And that could be up to a couple of years. So when NLS tells me I'm getting them, I'm taking them. So if you have our service, you want to get a Braille e-reader, you're certainly welcome to one. And I would suggest giving us a call, and I'll give you our 800 number, and I'll give it again. It's 800-992-9012. And if you want a Braille e-reader, you can ask whoever you talk to put you on the list. And the list is not that big, so I anticipate that when we get our Braille e-readers, there will be enough for everybody to get one right away. So that's the good news. And again, I have no idea when that's going to be. But from what I understand, the people that have been in the pilot program, they really like these things. So hopefully we'll get them soon, and then you can have a Braille e-reader. And, if you want to use it to do things on your phone, you'll be able to do that too. So, if you want to type an email or a text message on your phone, you'll be able to do that, only you'll be typing it in Braille. So that's the e-reader issue. NLS in 2009 came out with their current 2 digital audio book players, the basic and the advanced. And in 2016, when Andrew Wilson, who I work with, and I were at the NLS conference in San Francisco, they told us, oh yeah, we're coming out with a new machine and it'll be here in 5 years. Yeah, well, I'm still waiting. So they are working on a new machine. They're testing it. It's based on the Humanware Stratus, the Humanware Victor Reader Stratus, which for if anybody here has a Victor Reader Stream, you know it's a handheld unit. You can put it in your. I'm wearing a sport coat. I could put it in my sport coat pocket. The Victor Stratus is more of a desktop model, but that'll have Wi-Fi capability. It'll play our cartridges, and so that's the machine that NLS is working on. It's going to have a text-to-speech voice in it. Actually, it's going to have a male and a female voice, and there'll be Spanish language. So that'll be helpful for the. We have quite a number of folks that are Spanish language readers, so they will appreciate that. Like I say, it's got Wi-Fi. It's got basically the same functionality as our current machine. With that machine, though, we will be able to put books on your Bard wish list for you, and then you'll be able to download them to the machine. The machine is expected to have approximately 24 gig of memory, and with that, in an average book is about 11 to 14 hours, you should be able to get, I don't know, 125 or 150 books on there. So, I don't know, Marie, you could probably find something to read in 150 books, right? Okay, just checking. Anybody have any questions so far? Oh, certainly. 800-992. What are you using, a Braille note? 9012? Yes. You're welcome.
Got another question over here, Scott.
Oh, okay.
Hi, thank you. I'm a NLS user as well as a staff person from a vendor here.
Okay.
I'm curious, and I apologize if I missed this at the beginning of your talk. How visually impaired does a person need to be to qualify for services? So in other words, what I guess, is there a cutoff point, or how do you determine that if someone is having difficulty reading but they may not be like strictly considered low vision? I don't know if I'm asking my question clearly, but like, how do you determine that medically?
Okay, well, the standard that's used here by the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons, that's great. I can't even say my administrating agency's name. Well, don't tell Bill Robinson. He's the director. So the standard for legal blindness, and this is what the federal government uses, is that you have corrected vision of 2200 or worse, or that you have a field angle of less than 20 degrees. Now, that denotes legal blindness. But you can have other issues that make it difficult for you to read. And, as long as you get somebody to certify our application, and our application is really quite simple. I mean, it's simpler than most applications you will get from the government. So these are the things that we want. We want contact information. So your name, your address, a phone number, email if you have it. Let's see, what else do we have? We have your birth year, gender, which that's probably going to be dropped at some point. And what types of things do you like to read? Are you a veteran? Do you have any favorite authors? What subjects do you like? So it's basically more like, what do you want to read? And then we have some questions about how do you want to get books. But the certifying authority piece is the person's name, their address, their title, and who can certify these applications. It could be Katie. So it could be a librarian or library staff. It could be me. It could be a doctor. It could be a nurse, a social worker, the activities director at a assisted living facility. I don't know. I've seen people where their dentists have signed the form. NLS just changed, just last year. It used to be that if somebody had a reading disability, the form had to be signed by an MD or a DO. That's no longer true. So if somebody has a reading disability, again, Katie could sign the form, I could sign the form. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I wanted to know that in the future for consumers who come to our agency, but also I have an older father who isn't technically blind but has a number of eye problems that prevent him from reading.
Oh, yeah.
Very long. So I'm curious as to whether or not he would be eligible. Thank you.
He probably would be eligible. How old is he? 75. Oh, yeah.
He's 75 and he's a veteran.
Yeah, and see, the reason that we ask about veterans is the National Library Service was created in 1931. Now you're getting your history lesson. By what's called the Pratt-Smoot Act. Anyway, that it originally was designed for veterans of World War I who were blinded. Now that's in 1952, it was expanded to everybody with a visual disability. In 66, it went to people with visual disabilities. In 79, it went to reading disabilities. And remember, I said that at that point you had to have a doctor's signature. Then in, 2022, 2021, the requirement to have an MD or a DO sign the form for reading disability was dropped. So there's your history lesson.
We've got another question, Scott.
Okay.
Yeah, and just in relation to that question the previous person was asking, if someone has a memory issue or a mental health issue, is that something that the Library for the Blind would accommodate as far as, I guess, allowing them to borrow books?
Well, I will go back to if I get a form that's signed by a certifying authority and one of the 4 boxes is checked, and that's blind, visually impaired, physical disability, or print disability, hey, this is a good application. Anybody else have a question?
Looks like you're good, Scott.
All right, so let's see. I talked about the machine. I talked about e-readers. I do want to stress, too, that for people that have difficulty with, using an iPhone or don't have an iPhone, or can't afford an iPhone, or can't afford Wi-Fi, or all this other high-tech stuff, you know what? You're still going to get your books in the mail. And you're still going to be able to get your machine. You're still going to get your magazines. None of that will change. It's just going to be the same situation that you've been in for however long you've been with us. So some of these other technology advancements, it's like any other tool. They work. They're going to work for some people, but not all. Anybody here use BARD Express?
No one. Crickets.
Well, okay. What is BARD Express? Well, if you go to the BARD website and you go down close to the bottom of the page, it talks about BARD Express. BARD Express is an applet that you would download to a PC, so a Windows computer, and you would use BART Express to search for books, download books, put them on could be a flash drive that you could plug into the USB port on one of our players. Or if you have one of our cartridges, you could use that. If you have an SD card and an SD card reader, you can plug into the side of our player. But what BART Express, what the big thing that it does is that when you download the books are in what's called a zip file. And what's a zip file? Okay, I'm going to send Marie a bag of potato chips in the mail. And it's a big bag of potato chips. So, but the potato chips are too big to go through the mail. You got to work with me on this. So, what I do is I magically make that bag of potato chips really small. Then it gets to Marie, and Marie has the ability, boom, and now she's got her big bag of potato chips. How am I doing, Marie? You with me? Okay. So now Marie has her potato chips. So what happens when you download these audio book files? Some of them can be a little large, so they're downloaded as a zip file. Basically it's a compressed file, so everything is smashed together. So right now we have to unzip a book, and there's a program for doing that you have on your Windows computer. But the cool thing is that BART Express does this for you, and it unpacks the book, and it puts it into a folder with all of the files that you need to listen to the book, and the folder is entitled the title of the book. And why is that helpful? Well, when you want to delete a book off your thumb drive, off your cartridge, off your computer, we'll take my previous example, The Investigator by John Sanford. So if I just have a bunch of random files, I don't know what I'm deleting. I could be deleting a file from another book, then that book doesn't play. But if I get a file that says The Investigator, oh, I already read that book. Boom, delete. Okay, it's gone. So up to this point, if you had BART Express, you could do all these things. But what you could not do is you could not play your book on your computer. That's going to change. So now you download the book to BART Express. Well, I shouldn't say now. This is another thing that's coming. So you'll download your book to BART Express. You'll be able to play the book right there on your BART Express app, and you'll be able to do that on your Windows computer. So that is that's something that I know many people have been asking for, because I get these, well, why can't I play it on my computer? I just want to sit here. I have nice speakers. I want to hear the book. You mean I got to, sorry, you got to put it on something else. Well, now you won't have to do that. When is this going to happen? I'm going to say within the next year. So we have BART Express being updated. We have a new machine coming out. We have the BART mobile app being updated for both iPhones and Android phones. BART mobile is being optimized for the Fire operating system that Amazon uses. The e-reader is coming out at some point. And that's most of my technology spiel, but I do have something else to tell you about that you might be interested in. Let me pull my notes out of my pocket. All right, what did I do wrong here? Oh, I gotta push it in that way. Oh, all right. All right, let me grab my notes. So, NLS is starting two things. They're starting what's called Patron Corner, and that's actually starting on June 13th. And what I'm about to tell you, don't pay any attention to, because I'm really confused by this. Anyways, Patron Corner is going to come out 4 times a year, and they say it's coming out on, I don't know, something like the second, the second Monday of the third month, or something like that. I don't know, it confuses me. So anyways, on June 13th at 7 p.m., and this is going to be a Zoom meeting, so if you want that information, you can call us. And Katie, that came out in an Ops Alert, and I think it's Ops Alert 2248. It just came out this week. So if you have patrons calling up. Anyways, the first topic is called Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Collection Selection, but didn't know who to ask. So
I have the operations alert up here. Did you have a question about it, Scott?
no, I just wanted to give you the number so that if you have patrons calling, you'll be able to answer their questions.
Yeah, we can absolutely refer folks to this program. If you're interested, just give us a call.
So on June 13th, 7 p.m., you'll be able to log into the Zoom meeting we can provide you, and I believe this is open to 500 people around the country. So you can listen to what they have to say. There will be some question and answer period. They also say that this program will be recorded, so if you don't want your voice recorded, they're saying that you should basically not speak. So the other thing that they're besides June 13th, let's see, what other dates do I have here? The next one is September 12th, then December 12th, and March 13th of next year, 2023. So that's Patron Corner, and they'll have, like I say, there'll be a different topic each time. So if you want to participate in that, you can call us in Lansing. You can call Katie; she can give you the information. The other program that BARD is starting, and I believe it's in August. They're going to start a monthly BARD call for patrons. So you'll be able, and we haven't gotten an operations alert on this, so I don't know the exact time or the exact date. But the idea here is that you'll be able to talk to NLS staff about BARD, or they'll do a demo on, I don't know, maybe putting books on your wish list, or selecting books from most recently added. And it sounds like they're going to have a different topic each month. And this is a way to get a broad range of patrons to be able to get BARD information, and you can do that at your leisure. These are going to be recorded, so in the future you could go back and listen to it again. And again, you can always call the folks here at Ann Arbor District, or you can call the Braille and Talking Book Library in Lansing if you have BARD questions. And we're always ready to help people either download a book or sign up for BARD, or change your password, or let you know that why your account is inactive. Typically, your account becomes inactive because you haven't used it for more than 6 months. So even if you have a BARD account, you don't want to download a book, go in and look at it, play around on the website for a couple minutes. That way your account won't go inactive. We have magazines on BARD. There's something like 70 magazines now available, and you can download those. Other devices that you can use to download book, actually the one that's the most popular in Michigan is the Humanware Victor Reader Stream. Anybody here have one of those? I got a yes
Couple
over
folks.
here. Yep. Yeah, those are kind of handy, aren't they? Walk around with a whole library of books in your pocket, or magazines, whatever you want to download. I have a guy that he has multiple SD cards. He has 420 books or something like that, or 450 books. You know, I don't know. I think this guy wants to become a sub-regional library or something. You know, but I don't know how he gets through all of those. To me, and this is just my personal opinion, you know, trying to find those books, because if you're on a using your Victor Reader Stream, it has a keypad, a number pad on it, kind of like a phone. And you know, if you want to go to the next book, you tap the 6th key. Well, you know, let's see, 237, 238. Oh yeah, this is the book I wanted, I think. I don't know, I can't remember. It's taken me like 10 minutes to get here, so I forgot the book that I wanted. Anyway, does anybody have any questions?
Any questions from anybody? I'll come around with the mic. Scott, I think you've answered all of our questions. We seem to be all set.
Does anybody have any questions about their service, or do you like the service?
We got a yes.
Okay.
Oh, one question. Hold on.
Not a question, just a comment. I've been an NLS user since 1989. I think it is one of the best, if not the best, supports we have in this country for disabled people. So thank you so much.
Aw, thank you. Well, thank you very much for the presentation too, Scott. It was wonderful.
Well, thank you. You know, there's over 130,000 books available now. And this is not a technology issue, but a few years ago, the Marrakesh Treaty was approved by the Senate and signed by President Trump. And this allows an exchange of books between the United States and a number of countries around the world. And so books are constantly coming to the National Library Service in different languages. And, you know, we have the largest group of books are books in Spanish. And then I think the next largest group is French. But there's German, Russian, Ukraine, Italy, let's see, Greek, Dutch, Norwegian, Swedish. There's Greek. There's one Greek book before the year 1453. I don't know who speaks ancient Greek, but I'm sure there's somebody that is. Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese. I think there's some books in Hindu, Portuguese. Anyway, so there's many languages, and this keeps expanding so that, you know, the breadth of the collection is going to keep growing, and it's going to keep growing at a faster pace. The other thing that's helped our collection grow, when I I started at the library in 1997, and that was just after the Chafee Amendment was passed to the 1996 copyright law, which which meant that the National Library Service did not have to get the authors or the copyright holders permission to narrate a book and make it available to all of us that use the NLS service. Prior to that, you know, sometimes it took a year and a half to get a book. Well, that's really speeded up things. The other thing that's really speeded up getting books and had expanded the collection was the fact that now NLS is partnering with other companies like Audible, Penguin, Random House, Time Warner, Brilliance Audio. So these different companies that create audio books, NLS is using those recordings, and they add the NLS announcements, you know, at the beginning and the end of the book. Basically, it's somebody from NLS telling us the title, the author, copyright date, that reads the annotation, blah, blah, blah. And then it goes into the whatever the commercial recording is. But when I first started, NLS was producing about 2,200, 2,250 books a year. Well, that sounds like a lot, but you know, if you that's copyrighted in this country in a year, 2,200 books is just a small amount, like 5% or something like that. Anyways, this is expanded now, and now we're talking between 4,000 and 5,000 books a year. So this has really made a huge difference, and again, I think this will keep growing. Well, I'd like to thank everybody, and I'll give you our phone number one more time. It's 800-992-9012. And we're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, except for holidays. I'm going to put in a plug for Computer Club, too. So once a month, and coming up on Saturday, this Saturday, from 10:30 to 12:30, we have what's called, it's actually called Technology Club, used to be called Computer Club. And this Saturday, Dr. Joe Todd's going to be with us, and he's going to talk about troubleshooting JAWS issues, and he's going to show us the JAWS help system. From 1:30 to 2:30, 1:30 to 3, excuse me, we have our book club, and this month's book is The Cat Who Could Read Backwards by Lillian Jackson Braun. And Joy is going to be our facilitator. She's a patron. Anyway, if you're interested, give us a call. It's a Zoom meeting, but you can either log in with a computer or you can call in via phone. So you don't have to have a computer to do this. And we're going to have a giveaway this Saturday too. So if anybody wants to join us, like I say, give us a call. We'll get you the information you need to attend the meeting. We take off July and August, and we'll return in September with our next Technology Club and Book Club. Well, I'd like to thank all of you, and I hope you enjoyed your day today. I hope you found this information informative. Again, if you need anything, want to change an author, want to add an author, anything, call us. We like talking to people. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott, and thanks everybody for coming to Visions 2022. It was great to see everybody.
Finally.
Yeah.